All right, welcome everyone in present and virtually to this very special December 12th holiday edition of the Zoning Board of Appeals. I am now calling this meeting to order. Please be advised that FATV is conducting audio and video recording of this meeting for public broadcast. I would ask that anyone else in the audience who is recording this meeting because for some reason they don't trust FATV, to please identify yourselves for the record now by standing and stating your name and city of residence. Okay. I'm going to look online to see if anybody's raised their hands. Nobody has. Okay. So that at this time, I would ask that everybody place their electronic devices in the silent mode so we can all enjoy each other's company and conversation. We are going to begin this meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance, and I am going to ask Mr. McLaughlin to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, if you would.
Pledge allegiance to the
flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Mr. McLaughlin. So this is a meeting of the Zoning Board of Appeals. We have an agenda that has been published. The agenda lists items to be called according to their time in the order that they have been listed, with one exception. From 6 p.m. to 7 p.m., we will be hearing reviews. The reviews will be called in order. If anyone is not here for their review, they will be placed to the end of the review session and called at that time. Given that, the first review case is ZBA 2022-30. This is for 80 South Street. This is a review of a special permit under Section 181.333 of the Fitchburg Zoning Ordinance to alter an existing nonconforming structure providing for a substantially different purpose, multifamily housing, located in the residential C district at map 68, block 65, lot 0. Gentlemen, welcome. As it stands with all who will speak this evening, please state your name and city of residence, and then if you could, please give us an update on the project.
Sure. Barry Collar, Bolton.
Tony Molina, Bolton.
Very good. Welcome, gentlemen.
Thank you.
So this is the review of the special permit that was granted, I believe, on October 11th of last year for reconstruction and remodeling of the former, I always used to think of it as the convent building, into residential apartments. And I know at the beginning of this project, you were all very well organized, had a construction table, had all the resources ready. Life always throws us curveballs. But why don't you please give us a general update, and then I'm going to go through the conditions with you and see where we are on satisfaction. Okay? Go ahead.
Yes, we are at this point very close to the finish end. We are at the point of hoping to wrap up all the site work within the next 2 weeks. All the parking lots have been paved and striped and marked. Most of the units are already, all the finishes in there already. We're just installing appliances at this point and countertops. So we are actually getting to the finish line. I would say we are at most 2 months away from fully completion.
Wonderful. Okay. All right. And unless there's anything separate you'd like to address, I'm going to go through the conditions, sir.
No, go ahead.
Okay. All right. So the first is that you were to comply with all of the conditions in the planning board's site plan as approved. And while I have a copy of this, are you scheduled for any review with the planning board on their decision?
No.
Okay. But you are at this point still finishing up the site work on that?
Yep.
Would you say there's been any deviation from the original plan or from the conditions in the planning board's decision?
I don't think so.
As for our conditions, the units were to be made up of 1 studio apartment over the garage, 3 one-bedroom units, and 5 two-bedroom units. Is that as built? Okay. The exterior architectural elements were to be preserved, restored, or accurately replaced, including but not limited to design work around the windows and elements above the roof line, copper on the top of the roof, and the woodwork in the front peak. Was that complied with?
Yes, we restore that.
Okay. The interior architectural elements were to be preserved. That included restoring the entryway, the coffered ceiling in the living room, the oak stairway, and all oak floors that could be restored. Yes?
Yes.
Those have been restored, yes.
How did that go, out of
It
curiosity?
looks really nice.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Good.
I did send an email to see if you guys wanted to, we had a couple color choices in stain.
Yeah.
If you guys wanted to take a peek at that before we did that.
That would be great. That would be great. Property including landscaping to be maintained during construction, debris to be picked up, and the dumpster to be emptied regularly. So that's not a long-term condition, it's a short-term one. And the special permit expires or terminates upon the sale or transfer away from KMR2 LLC, unless the occupancy certificate has been issued, which I understand has not yet been issued, right?
Correct.
And is KMR2 LLC still the record owner?
Yes.
Okay. Any change in the beneficial ownership of the LLC?
No.
Okay. All right.
We are, I know you guys had asked if we were going to sell any, and had been interested us in selling some of the units as opposed to keeping current. And we are going to make it condos and are considering selling some of them if there's a market for it.
Oh, I know as one board member, I am always interested in improving homeownership opportunities within the city. So I am glad to hear that. Just make sure that that change does not happen until the certificate of occupancy issues, or else the special permit just expires automatically. So we want to make sure that doesn't happen.
Good to know.
Okay,
Yeah, I may ask you specifics on that.
go ahead.
Okay. So, Kim, because we would draw the condo, they're doing the things they need to do to drop the condo documents instead of site plan and all those kind of things.
You're drawing up the master condominium deed and the trust.
Right. How far can we go with that?
I think up until the point of execution and delivery.
Okay. So we can get it all ready and just, okay.
And remember, delivery may occur before recording at the Registry of Deeds.
Okay.
So if, if you're the person signing on behalf of the LLC, and then you're also the person signing on behalf of the master deed and trust, then you've just made a completed transaction by signing your own name, so.
Right. Okay.
So wait on execution until that certificate of occupancy issues.
Okay.
Okay.
Should
At
we
this-
ask about the sidewalk?
Yeah. Yeah.
Was there any other specific question?
The sidewalk.
The sidewalk.
We're going to redo the sidewalk from Payson Street up to where it's done, up by the school. But DPW says we can't do any sidewalk work until April 15th. So we may need a temporary certificate of occupancy prior to that. We'll get bids, we'll have somebody decided on who's going to do the work. We'll have that to you guys so you know that it's getting done.
We have a contract, yeah.
Yeah.
Concrete?
Concrete, yeah.
Okay, I'm just going to make a note of that issue. Because this is not, if you've not completed the conditions, this is not the meeting where we would release the certificate of occupancy. We want to wait until you're finished. But I do want to make sure that we have a good resolution that allows you to proceed, but make sure that the sidewalks actually get finished in April. So, all right. At this point, I'm going to move to any board questions or comments. And Mr. Gallagher, I'm going to go to you first.
Okay. Thank you, Madam Chair. I want to just tell you how much I appreciate the great job that you've done on the building thus far. I do have some questions about the color of the building. That was my concern. I see that a portion of the building, a small strip, is painted the curbside color that we sort of agreed upon. Is the whole building going to be that color?
No, we wanted to keep it in the same color tone of the original building, but we thought it looked better in a lighter version of that tone, but we kept that section kind of an homage to the original. But we felt that it just had more curb appeal in a lighter color like that.
Okay. Was not exactly what I was looking for. My concern is that because it's white and with the close proximity of trees, and because we're dealing with a porous surface, it is susceptible to staining.
Yep.
And there's a lot of road dirt that comes down because they salt that hill and sand that hill quite heavily in the wintertime for safety. So there's a lot of dust that gets, through traffic against the house. So, I do have some concerns about the color, to be honest with you, but other than that, I think you've done a great job, and I'd like to congratulate you both on that.
Thank you.
Okay.
Appreciate the feedback.
Yep.
Thank you, Mr. Gallagher.
You're welcome, Madam Chair.
All right. Mr. Byrne, do you have any?
No, I've watched this project for many, many years now, and I'm very happy to say that you guys have done an outstanding job when it comes to bringing that back to life again. Absolutely wonderful, and good luck to you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Mr. McLaughlin?
No questions.
Okay. I'm going to look for any public comment. Is there anyone here who would like to ask a question, state a concern, or seek information on this review? And virtually, if there is anyone who would like to ask a question, state a concern, or seek information on a review, please raise your hand. Seeing none, I'm going to look at department comments. The planning department has just noted that this project, of course, needed a special permit and site plan review, which is what has happened already. Community development is looking very much forward to seeing the project completed. So I think you may have a fan there. And we have the email from you, sir, about the color stain choices. I think that came in on Friday. I don't have I don't have the. Do you have them with you, or are they at the property? Are they
At the property, and it's kind of better to see when
See
you're
on
in
the
the
property.
space anyway.
Okay.
And it's not urgent. It's,
Yeah, we still got
doesn't have
time.
to be done.
Okay. I'm really glad to hear that's not the final color necessarily on the building, so thank you for that. Glad to hear it, because you've done such a wonderful job on all of the other architectural elements.
This is actually on the inside of that very first unit where there's a lot of woodwork.
Okay,
We brought the wood kind of back, and then we have choices of stain of how that's going to look and how that unit looks, because that's one that you guys were interested in keeping looking very original. So that's one where we're hoping to get your input.
okay.
Yeah, I'd like to take a look at that.
Yeah, if you don't mind, I think the rest, dealing with this informally, I think the rest of the board trusts Mr. Gallagher on architectural choices. He's very knowledgeable. So,
Perfect.
Thank you. Mr. Building Commissioner, welcome to the meeting.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. I just wanted to note from my office that Inspector John Morelli was last out there on September 13th, did an insulation inspection. It passed, so through our office, it's progressing as well.
Good, so this is not a stalled project, and the inspections are being completed as expected.
Yes.
Great, great. So, from the reaction I just got from the color issue, is that the final color on the exterior?
Yes, because that's a
Sir.
big job.
So, is there any room for leeway on a color modification that's a little more historic in nature?
to it, maybe at least, the front facing the street portion.
Right. And we can talk,
Yeah, I don't mind if the rest of the board doesn't mind delegating that issue to Mr. Gallagher to resolve. Go ahead, Mr. McLaughlin.
Just the comment, and again, fabulous job. Thank you guys for your investment. When you look at the main house and then you look at the extension, there's kind of like a wall, a front-facing wall in between that's more of, I think, the color we envisioned. Is that, what's different about that? Is that not been painted white yet, or is that the final color?
That was our final, and what we're looking to do is also to break it a little bit so it doesn't all look like that big space. It will look pretty, almost too much at once on one color, because I've got quite a big square, so we're trying to give it a little bit of an accent or something so that it breaks it. That's kind of like sort of what we're looking for.
right.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
Honestly, what I thought was the white actually looked like primer, and when I saw that color, I'm like, okay, so that's going to be the color.
Right. Yeah.
I don't know. I'd like to see it that color, but
Yeah.
Yeah, we understand there's a large investment. We're just trying to see if there's an accommodation we can reach. Again, because you've done such a great job preserving the other architectural elements in the history of the building in your project. Mr. McLaughlin, did you have a comment to finish?
I just, looking at the minutes, there was discussion about getting to a historical color, and I think that was the only thing. I myself went by and I'm going, that looks fabulous. And when I saw the white, I'm going, okay, that was a primer. And then when I saw the tan, I'm like, yeah, you're spot on what we were looking for. So that's why we're kind of a little, saying, and I think if it's, the intention is it's going to be condoized, it would, I guess, kind of more be of a reason to make sure we really kind of nail it. So, open to discussion with the board. Again, we're not here to incur any additional costs, just looking at what our original kind of, whole focus was on the historic aspect of it. So, but again, just very nice work. We thank you for the investment. Really do.
Thank you.
All right, so you believe that it's going to be about 2 months. Again, we need to approve the conditions as completed before the certificate of occupancy will issue. And I don't want to bring you back any more than we need to, but we do need to bring you back one more time. So would you prefer to be scheduled in March, or would you prefer to be scheduled in April, knowing that if we get to April and you're not done, it might, I'm sorry, I spoke. March or February.
Right.
If you're not done in February, it might be April before we have the room to hear you again, depending on how the schedule goes.
Right. What do you think?
February will be good.
February?
Yeah.
There's enough time?
I think so.
Okay.
You think February?
Yeah.
Okay. Remember what I said.
Yeah, we got you.
Okay. I'd like to entertain a motion on the continuance of the review, and if any member has a suggestion for modification of the conditions. Okay, and I'm going to remind the board that the February meeting date is February the 13th, 2024.
Do we need to add in any condition with respect to the sidewalk? That's site plan, isn't it?
It's site plan, so it might be non-compliance with the full conditions of the site plan. And so if they are done in February, but the sidewalk can't be done until April, we'll need to decide whether or not to release the certificate of occupancy.
Okay. I mean, it's rolled into one, which is,
It is.
yeah.
So we can leave that for a later date to address, based on circumstances existing at that point in time. If we get to February and the work is there's still some work outstanding, then we might not have to address the sidewalks because we'll review them in April.
Okay.
It's still a condition because of the compliance with planning board.
Okay. I think the only other outstanding issue is the paint and how that gets addressed, or if it gets addressed.
I would propose that we add a condition to state that the permit holders shall meet with a member of the board to review compliance with the architectural and historic provisions,
Sure.
if that's all right.
Yep.
Okay. And if you can schedule that meeting, Mr. Gallagher, are you available, you think, within the next 30 days or so?
Oh, certainly, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Just so it gets addressed sooner rather than later.
Yeah.
So,
Probably want to do that in the next week, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
sooner is better.
All right.
Well, we got some warm weather.
great,
Yeah.
okay.
Keep rolling.
So I think we're modifying condition 7 to state a review date of February 13th, 2024, and add a condition number 8, scheduling a site visit with a board member.
I'll make that motion under ZBA-2022-30 for KM R2 Realty for the property at 80 South Street, with the changes and conditions as noted by the chair.
Right, do we have a second?
Second.
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none, we are continued until February. Congratulations on your good work, and we look forward to seeing you then.
Thank you very much. Have a good evening.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Feel free to reach out to the building department for that scheduling within the next week or so. Okay.
Was that number that you sent? That was a cell phone number?
Yep.
Okay.
You have my number, so.
Yeah.
Okay.
I have it, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, good.
I'll be calling.
Right.
Right. Yeah,
Thank
good
you.
night.
The next item we are going to call is ZBA 2023-15, Nadal Antonio, 348 Elm Street. This is the continuance of an application for special permit under Section 181.332 of the Fitchburg zoning ordinance to reinstate a vacant or abandoned nonconforming mixed-use structure, changing the use to another nonconforming, less detrimental use as a duplex pursuant to Section 181.94 located in Residential C. Just as a reminder to the members of the board, we saw this for an initial hearing. The applicant, who, as we all know, is also working on another project within the city, had represented that they needed more time before they would have a decent plan on the second project, and there was an agreement to extend any deadline on either side until July 31st, 2024. In other words, 1 year from the date of that initial meeting. But we did want to see the structure demolished on or before December 1st. The foundation may remain but must be capped. Okay. And we wanted to have an earlier review on that issue of demolition. We have received a communication from Mr. Antonio to all ZBA members. I start with apologizing for not being present in this meeting. I started a new afternoon shift at my job and couldn't take it off. The project over at 348 Elm Street has been demoed as far as we're going. All there is left is concrete walls and supports, in which we will be using for our build-out. The location is safe. He requests another visit at the project in 6 to 8 months, so it gives him time and funds to close up the other projects we have in town. We will continue cleaning up the rest of the debris, and we will keep the fence up. Thank you for your understanding. All right. So the applicant, the applicant is not here. I'm going to check and see if anyone present is here to speak on this matter.
Are you here tonight?
Is anyone virtual here to speak on this matter? Please raise your hand. Okay. From departments, I didn't reach out one. From the Board of Health, the comment is that this would be good to fix this building. We agree. Thank you, Board of Health. From Community Development, there was a concern about whether or not the demo permit had been pulled, and
Open on that part.
and that's the same. Mr. Commissioner, any comment on the project?
Sure. Just to opine on what you just asked, there was a demo permit pulled. It was B23-307. As of December 1st, at 12:55 p.m., I spoke with Mr. Antonio, and he said he's still in the process of demolition. We have not scheduled a demo inspection to verify that demo has occurred, because as of last week, he was still in the process.
So it's not been completed, or at least the inspection has not been completed.
As far as I know from the first, it has not been completed. And he hasn't asked us to do the inspection.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
Looking for any board member comments before we would have a motion on the continuance. Anything to ask from the petitioner? Go ahead, Mr. McLaughlin.
Just some feedback. We haven't voted to approve anything on that site
No.
yet.
No, we've just had an extension of all deadlines.
Yeah. You know, kind of a quandary, right? He's demoed most everything except for the concrete work, but we don't even know what there's not a plan presented. You know, I think we're still quite a far way off from just getting the property cleaned up, right?
Right, and I think at baseline, what the board's priority was to make sure that it was demoed and a safe lot until the next hearing, which I believe is in June or July of this coming year. And at that point in time, we would be looking for a plan and whether or not to allow the requested permit.
So further demo definitely could be required.
So I would think that completion of the demo inspection should occur. And that's something that should occur by the next meeting. I think the building department's schedule will allow for that to happen. And then we can have a informed status on what we see driving by. Any other comments?
Madam
Go ahead,
Chair.
Mr. Gallagher.
Yeah, I'm very happy to see that they did demolish the building. It was quite unsafe, although, you know, it appears to be, you know, incomplete, but it is much improved to what it was. There were, you know, as a property owner in that neighborhood, I had concerns myself with the way the walls were really just bulging and stuff like that. So I do appreciate the work that's been done thus far on it. Thank you.
Thank you. I would agree. I appreciate the demo work. I just want to see it finished up.
Right.
I don't want this to be a 90%er. All right, so I'd entertain a motion on a continuance until the January meeting, which is January 9th, 2024, with the additional condition, oh, that's not going to work. No, it'll be okay. With the additional condition that the applicant is to have a demolition inspection completed on or before January 9th, 2024. a board member could so move.
So move.
Do I have a second?
I'll second that. We also want to strike condition number 1 and number 5, correct?
Yes, so number 5 would be modified to January 9th, 2024.
And do we now strike number 1, being that the demolition has occurred?
It has occurred, but it's not been completed. But let's note that this is satisfied since the next, the modified condition will be for inspection to be completed satisfactorily.
Are we being a bit aggressive with January, with the way the project's been moving?
Well,
This is just going to be a visit to confirm the demo inspection has been complete, more or less, right?
that's correct.
Okay.
So we have this property under agreement that all deadlines are extended until July 31st anyway. So there's not going to be a vote by the board to deny the special permit before then, because we have
Or
already
approve it.
made this or approve it, because we've already made that agreement.
Okay.
So if there is, if the board feels adding the condition and is sufficient, then we can stick with the next scheduled hearing date, which I believe is it July or June?
July.
July. So that is July 9th, 2024. And that would go along with our policy of decreasing reviews and relying on the building department. So would you entertain a modification to the motion?
Sure.
Okay. And
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. That is continued until July 9th, 2024, with the modified condition as to demo inspection being completed by January 9th, 2024. The next item on the agenda is ZBA 2022-05, AG Dream Flip LLC, 8385 Marshall Street. This is a review of the special permit under Section 181.336 of the Fitchburg Code to reinstate a vacant or abandoned building as a three-family dwelling located in residential C district. And I believe in this case, we have, yeah. Oh, we do have somebody here on this. Okay, please sit at the table, state your name and city of residence.
Elias Gonzalez Sterling.
Welcome, sir. All right, before I review the conditions with you, can you give me an update on how it's going?
Right now, it's not going nowhere yet. I'm just waiting for estimates.
Okay. So this was first allowed some time ago, right?
Yes.
So I believe that it's been over a year. And at the last meeting on September 12th, where we reviewed this, and I don't believe anyone was here, we had a condition to put a construction safety fence in front of the stairwell and hole and have the hole filled in within 30 days. And I've been by today, and that has not been done.
Nothing was done, yeah.
Yeah.
That's true. So the reason we started, but I think the guy we started wrong. You know, he hit some pipes and gas line, I think it was. So now it's a situation like, when they come to look the job, it's just, I'm not getting any estimates. And so it looks like it's nobody pretty much want to do the job. So it's very frustrated to.
So The reason that condition was placed is because the board felt there was a safety issue there in the gaping hole and the retaining wall that appears to be crumbling next to it, that is right next to the sidewalk.
Next to the sidewalk, yeah, where the stairs is.
Yeah, that's.
So you wanted to
really-
put like a fence or something in there just to,
Because there was a hole dug there and then never completed, and now it's.
yep.
Now it's caving in, and there's a shopping cart there, it's filled with trash. And so, understanding that maybe you can't get the work done that needs to be done, doing something to alleviate the safety issue while that is going on. And those were the two options given. So, did you attempt to do either of those things?
Yes, I just got to figure out the way to put something in there to be safety.
Yeah.
So I probably going to talk to my guy tomorrow, and we can put something to people can stay away from that wall.
So it says safety fence and the hole filled in. And I understand you dug the hole because you need to put parking there,
Yes.
but we can't leave the hole for a year. That's a problem. So, and really, it's just because we don't want anyone to be hurt. Okay,
Madam Chair, may I add something?
go right ahead, sir.
I noticed today when I did a site visit that the gutter was leaking from above, pouring directly down on the sidewalk that comes off of the stairway, and it was icy. So anyone coming down that stairway is liable to slip and go right down into the hole. So I really think it's an urgent matter. It's an accident waiting to happen, and someone can really get hurt. That's a big hole to fall down into.
So we can just pretty much just eliminate the stairs for now, so nobody can go there.
I think to put up a barrier fence
Yeah.
or something that would stop someone if they did lose their footing coming off the stairs and hit the ice sidewalk would be helpful. There's
Okay.
nothing there currently.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
I would go through the rest of the conditions with you, but I don't think you've done any of them.
No, not like I said. Yeah, like I said, we
None
just
of them.
try, but nothing. It's
Yeah. Is the property still owned by AG Dreamflip LLC?
yes.
Okay. Have you recorded the special permit at the Registry of Deeds? I take that back. You have, because I have it noted that you did. Okay.
Okay.
Somebody did.
Somebody
You may-
did. Yeah,
you
but
may
wasn't.
not
Yeah,
have done
yeah,
that,
yeah.
but
my
somebody
attorney,
did.
yeah.
Okay. Does any other board member have a question for the permit holder? Go ahead, Mr. McLaughlin.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Has it gone for site plan approval?
Yes.
Okay. Tree?
Yeah, I'm going to bring that up in a question.
Okay, so we granted we heard this, it'll be 2 years in January, correct? And I know that the front retaining wall to the right of the stairs appears to be visually failing, and I think there was some discussion to talk about amending the condition to include repairing or replacing that wall. But I'm really more concerned by the fact that the project isn't funded, and we're almost 2 years into it, and nothing's been done. Have any permits been pulled?
I'm going to ask the building commissioner if he could answer that question.
So there was a permit applied for in 2022 for a permit to build a retaining wall to add 2 parking spaces. And that was stopped. That was stopped because Tom Zupa, back on June 20th, 2022, said, "I'll be stopping this building permit based on the following information. Planning board will need to approve the new parking plan prior to you being permitted to continue work on site. Property owner decided to change the parking plan from 2 spaces on site to 4 spaces on the lot across the street to 4 parking spots on site and 2 across the street. Property owner is going before the planning board, but then he never revived that.
Okay. So does this, in January, does this fall under the 2-year rule?
Yes.
Okay.
So I'm just, do you have the file with you? I do. Can you look at the actual date with the city clerk?
Date of filing, right?
The filing instead of the date of decision. Because I am seeing at the March 22 meeting, we continued and had not yet granted. So we should look at the date of actual grant and filing.
So once a permit has been pulled for any type of work, but there's no action, how long can that permit sit out there?
6 months.
Okay.
And then after 6 months, by code, it is expired, but what I've been doing lately, as I saw that no one has actually expired a lot of them, I've been working through the backlog and putting notes in and physically expiring them all out and telling people they have to reapply for new permits. This one specifically, though, Tom Zupa already commented that it's denied.
So there's no open building permit?
No.
So the approval I have is from November 15, 2022.
Okay.
And what's recorded on December, the city clerk.
Okay, thank you.
December 18, I believe it is, 2022.
So we are a year
Right.
since the grant.
A year and a month.
So there's another year on the special permit before there has to be a building permit pulled and followed through with.
So it took us a year just to get through the
Yeah,
It took
because
us-
it's
the
like-
case.
say like
I
in
think,
May.
as I recall, there was back and forth with the planning board decision on this one.
Yeah.
Thank you,
several
Madam
times.
Chair.
Yeah, it was just May, I think, and it was just a continuance.
So the reason we're discussing this is there's going to be an expiration date on this special permit if you don't use it, if you don't follow through with it, which means you would have to reapply if you wanted to continue with the project at some point in time. I know you've had a number of different issues facing you in this project, so that's just a reminder, if you do intend to follow through with the project, or if, you're rearranging priorities, that 2-year date is going to be coming up next November, okay?
Okay.
And
So I have from now to November to complete the job?
if you don't make a substantial beginning on the job, at least involving pulling a building permit that you're proceeding on, it will expire, which means that's the base terms of the special permit under the state statute, okay?
Okay.
And I think this board would not be looking to extend it unless you had been able to really make a start on it, which is, unfortunate, because I do think you could make this into a productive property, but something's got to be done about that safety issue. So,
I'll start working on it.
yeah. I'm going to check, is there anyone present who would like to speak on this project? Seeing none, is there anyone virtual? No hand is raised. Reading board comments from the Board of Health. This is a good building. It would be nice to have people living there again. Board of Health supports you. Community Development also would like to see the project completed. That's it? Okay. All right. Board members, any suggestion on review and decisions?
Some
As
language?
far as the conditions go, any modifications? Go ahead, Ms. McLaughlin.
Just for clarification and discussion amongst the board, we've been looking at this property for 2 years, and it continues to the front to erode and deteriorate. I'd like to add in condition number 7, that just for clarification and completeness of the wall, that it read that the retaining wall to the right side of the proposed front stairs, because there aren't any right now, correct? Be removed and replaced, so that the whole retaining wall across the front of the building, we ensure that that language is in the decision and not just the corner gets replaced. Open, obviously, for discussion amongst the board.
I'm going to note that the neighboring building did have a nice modification and reconstruction of their retaining wall at a similar slope. It came out very nice, and I think
Asked
that's
this
condition
week, yeah.
number 11.
Bring that up.
But that would be a very acceptable solution, a tiered retaining wall. It was very attractive and I think safe on the neighboring property, which is right now the issue. So I am fine with this. I think that's a good modification to the condition number 11. But
I'm sorry. I'm on the first page, so
Oh, yeah.
I called it number 7. Yeah.
Number 11, okay. I really do need to see that hole and the stairwell fixed. And when I say fixed, it doesn't have to be the permanent fix, but it needs to be made safe against collapse because of the people that could affect. The board has the ability to revoke the special permit if you don't comply with the conditions. We have set this as a condition more than once, and it has never been complied with. And so because of that history of we set the condition, you don't comply, we set the condition, you don't comply, I would prefer that we see this for review in January, and I'm going to say that as one board member, if it's not complied with by then, I'm going to move to revoke the special permit, which I don't want to do because I want you to be able to complete this project, but I can't have that outstanding anymore, and you don't seem to be complying.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other board member comment on conditions modification? Mr. Gallagher?
I do. Thank you, Madam Chair. I received a phone call from the abutter today with some concerns about a tree that's on your property. It's actually rotted and it's falling, it's leaning right into her house, and the branches are on the roof. She's quite concerned about it, and I think it's something that needs to be addressed immediately.
Okay.
Do you know where that tree is?
Yes, it's on the side of your building,
On the
the side that faces the house.
right side?
Yes.
Okay. I think I saw that, but I'm not sure if it belongs to me or belongs to her.
Actually, it's on your side. Your lots are separated by a retaining wall. It's up on your property.
Okay.
Broken, and she's quite concerned about it.
All right. So I can send somebody to cut the tree down.
Thank you. So I would propose adding that as a condition
Yes.
to be completed by January 9th, 2024. The right-hand side of the property?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Madam Chair, if there's a tree on somebody else's property And, you know, right now, we're almost considering this kind of abandoned. I'd like to see that removed in 14 days. I'm okay with the safety fence. You know, we're going on 2 years since this wall has been demoed. So 30 days in winters here with the ice, it's a dangerous situation. So if the chair would like 30 days, I'm okay with that. I'd rather see that be a 14-day thing, but the tree almost immediately.
I can get somebody next week to cut the tree.
Yeah, that would be great.
That would be
I really
very
appreciate it.
Probably next weekend.
So just comment, that's all.
Yeah, it's going to be until January 9th before that we're going to visit this again. Yeah. So. All right, so we have 2 modifications and a proposed review date of January 9th, 2024. Unless there are any other suggestions on conditions modifications, can I have a motion on that continuance?
I'll make that motion. I'm going to strike 13 and replace it with January 9th, 2024, and just amend the language in 11 to read that replace the front retaining wall to the right side of the proposed existing stairs or new stairs, and it's to be removed and replaced,
Okay.
and all others remain.
And an additional 14, or I guess
Tree limb
modification.
and limbs to be removed within 14 days.
Yep.
And that
And
would be
number
number 14.
And number 12 to be modified to state that the safety fence should be up in the hole, filled in by January 9th, 2024.
Amended.
Okay. Second.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? None? Sure. I thank you for agreeing to remove the tree. We appreciate it. Good luck getting the safety fence in the hole filled and taken care of, because I do want to see you be able to proceed on this project. If you have any questions about doing that, you're welcome to contact the building department. Okay, we'll see you in January.
Thank you.
Thank you. Calling the next review, ZBA 2022-21, 447 Water Street. This is a review of a special permit under Section 181.94 of the Fitchburg zoning ordinance to continue the business operation of an auto dealership and repair pursuant to Section 181.313 D11 and 12 located in the neighborhood business district. So, are you here to speak on this one, sir? If you wouldn't mind, because I don't know that the permit, oh, virtually, okay. So I know, if you don't mind, I would like to have you at the table, just, I need to clarify what the current status is.
Absolutely.
And,
Good evening.
If you can say your name and city of residence.
Yes, Harold Mateo, Wakefield, Mass.
Thank you. And Ms. Pena is here virtually, so ma'am, I've allowed you to speak. Can you again just state your name and city of residence?
Atara Pena, Northborough, Massachusetts.
Okay, thank you. So, Ms. Pena, you are the permit holder, and I am going to have you speak on what the current status is, because I know we had a landlord-tenant dispute before us the last time you were here.
Yeah, so we are officially withdrawing our request for a special permit for this location. We're no longer going to be doing business. Our business is being terminated at the location. The lease has been terminated by the landlord. We're in the process of transferring this license to another location. Okay. So I don't know if there's something that I needed to file to withdraw the request for this special permit, but I do want to mention too, before we go any Further, I just want to make sure that everything that's discussed, that we discuss here now, only pertains to ZBA business and not anything outside of the purview of ZBA business. There are legal issues that have happened and may still currently be going on, and I just don't think that's fair to be discussed in a public forum, especially considering these meetings are televised in public. Anything that might be considered defamatory or slanderous to the business, I just don't think is fair to be discussed. So we're happy to be here and talk about this permit and this permit only. And I just hope that anyone after us who might speak after us or anyone else who speaks just stays to the purview of what's going on with the ZBA.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Pena, I just will say informally, I share your horror at the fact that our meetings are recorded and available for download in perpetuity, as I think does the rest of the board. Amen. So the only question, because this permit has a sunset clause, which means yourself and Pena Motors LLC are the only operators under the special permit which are allowed. And if either you cease to operate or you are bought out by another entity, the special permit terminates, and then that's the only thing the board needs to find. And any new operator would need the reapplication for the special permit. So knowing that, ma'am, is the business still operating at this location? And if so, when does it anticipate ceasing to operate at this location?
We are operating at the location until January 1st of 2024, and then it will cease to operate at that location.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. Bearing in mind the request of the permit holder and understanding the parameters under which we're operating here, Mr. Mateo, would you confirm that they would cease operating on or before January 1st of 2024?
The execution is for December 31st, 2023.
Okay.
And everything else appears to be correct. And yeah, legal matters are going on.
Okay. And if I recall correctly, you have a new application into the building department anyway?
That is correct.
Okay.
To reestablish my prior business there.
Okay. Then I think the only thing that needs to happen is for this board to consider making a finding that as of January 1st, 2024, the special permit would terminate as the permit holder has ceased operating at this location. I am going to ask...
I'm sorry, I have one comment there.
Sure.
When I pass the initial time that I close mine up so that they can go ahead and go through their process, I'm just hoping the board has the consideration for the same thing when I go to reopen at my location.
As you know, we have to reconsider every special permit on its merits at the time, but the board understands that this has been operating as this type of business with different ownership.
Correct.
Under you, under this permit holder, and then perhaps another. So
Yeah, thank you.
But we are obligated to rehold the special permit hearing. So, is there any person present in person who wishes to make comment on this review? Is there any other person present virtually who wishes to make comment on this review? Is there any correspondence here?
No.
Okay. Just the request for the remote, yeah.
Information about that.
Okay. Yeah, and Board of Health just mentioned that it had no problems with the property. All right. So any board member have a comment before we move on that finding? Mr. Commissioner, or Mr. McLaughlin, do you have a comment?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Go ahead, Mr.
So, not on the finding before you, but just to comment back on Mr. Mateo's last comment with the form of intent. He did file a form of intent to reestablish the former business. The determination that I gave on that form of intent was that he has to apply for, he has to come back in front of this board. But what I wrote is for my formal determination, just so that the board knows, and you'll see it when he applies, but that he's requesting a modification of the special permit for pre-existing non-conforming use per section 181.332 of the zoning ordinance for motor vehicle repair garage. So I've made the determination through that form of intent that he's requesting a modification of this current special permit. So if it expires before he applies, then that may have to be a new special permit. So if we could urge him maybe to file that application before that expires, so that it is treated as a modification and not as a new special permit.
Got it.
In the previous special permit, it was treated as a request for to continue a pre-existing non-conforming use.
Correct. This
How it was
language
deemed.
was actually almost copied verbatim from the previous one, where it was transitioned from Mr. Mateo's business to Ms. Pena's business. And now he's asking to transition it back, so I'm using practically verbatim from what it was before.
Okay.
But it's still an application for a new special permit, because this is going to expire on the 31st.
It's an application to modify the existing special permit.
Yeah, the only concern is that we have to have a public hearing and
Correct.
another vote and a finding. That's
Not a problem.
really the only concern that we have, so. So I think you have the building commissioner's suggestion. Either way, it's going to be best to get the application in before
Thank you.
January 1st.
Yes, it'll be in this week.
Okay, thank you, sir. Otherwise, I'd ask for a motion on a finding that as of January 1st, 2024, the ownership of the business at this location will no longer exist, and therefore the special permit will expire as of January 1st, 2024.
So moved.
Any second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None? Mr. Mateo, I expect we'll see you in the future.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
Have a good evening.
So, Madam Chair, if the special permit is going to expire, because it has a sunset clause,
It does.
how can we modify a special permit that's going to expire?
I think that's why it's a new special permit to continue a pre-existing non-conforming use. But
Okay.
I think we can work out the logistics of that.
So the thought process on that is you're modifying, if it's done before it expires, you can modify the conditions of that special permit for the sunset to be changed from the current person to the new person, so that it's treated as a modification that way. But that would mean that I believe he needs to get onto the agenda before,
He can't get onto the agenda.
He can't get
before
onto the January
1st.
agenda.
Right.
But I see the point. I think
I think it's a reapplication.
it may be
But,
because of the dates.
yeah, at any rate, we can't hear him, we can't hear you. We're just talking about the logistics of how that application would proceed.
Sure.
We can't hear you tonight because there's no application in from you. And we will not hear you before January 1st when it expires, because our next meeting is January 9th, and there
Okay.
is not time before then to advertise in the newspaper, even if we were to schedule a special meeting for you. I continue to, and if you're going to suggest a December 30th scheduled meeting, Mr. Commissioner, you can
Won't I-
take that suggestion and put it where you think I want
I
you to
would
put
not.
I see this as a new special permit, as a continuation of pre-existing non-conforming use as it was issued for Pena Motors. I am happy to work that out with that understanding.
That we take that last amendment that we made and continue the present permit until the 15th of January. And that will settle all the problems, because if we don't cancel the permit until the 15th of January and we have a meeting on the 9th.
I agree.
it'll be in time.
Sorry, spoke out loud there. I didn't know my mic was on. I agree with the suggestion.
The issue with that is there's also the clause of change of ownership, and the change of ownership.
Ownership has not changed, sir.
No, but of the business. Because don't you have the clause that once Pena is no longer in control of the site, then the special permit goes away. I want to make sure all I's are dotted and T's crossed so that we don't run into a issue in the future. And I know there's the legal aspects of that Pena is vacating as of January 1st,
December 31st.
December 31st.
The board's definitely not in charge of when the vacating happens. But I
Unless-
know by January 1st.
Yep.
it'll be done.
Unless the board wants to modify that condition at tonight's hearing, that condition about change of ownership, to modify it to change of ownership or transfer back to current owner or some other language.
The easiest set of language would be that it would expire 14 days after the transfer of ownership, what the board finds will occur on January 1st, 2024. Mr. Byrne, as the mover, you would have to move for reconsideration. Would you do so?
Certainly.
Okay. Does the rest of the board, are we all in favor of reconsideration
Of
of the last motion that passed? We passed a finding. Now we're going to have to take it for reconsideration.
Why are we trying to overcomplicate a simple thing when the applicant can just make a new application for a special permit in January?
I agree that they can. The building commissioner does not agree.
It's not that I don't agree, I'm trying to expedite the process a little bit. I'm trying to expedite the process by treating it as a modification of an existing special permit versus a whole new permit that requires a full hearing and everything else that goes along with it.
It's a modification that, in my opinion, will still require a public hearing, new notice. That is, it
No, and
is
I
a
agree with-
major modification.
I agree with that. It's the other conditions where if it's treated as a modification, then all the other conditions can stay the same, and you're just modifying those two provisions of the special permit versus coming up with a whole new list of conditions.
So,
It's just what the applicant, those are two different pathways. It's just what the applicant stated his preference was.
I'd like to provide some feedback. This property has been before us multiple times, and we struggle with the conditions being met and coming up with a plan that seems to work. I would want to revisit this and look at it as a new light, because it just, it's been review after review after review, and we've been chasing the conditions on it, it seems, ever since it's been open.
And that's fully within the board's prerogative. And I'd support whichever the board wants to do. I was just thinking from the perspective that I said earlier.
so
Just one board member comment, that's all.
from my point of view, by making the modification to the last finding that the expiration would happen 14 days after cessation of the business, we can accommodate both points of view and allow for further discussion on how to address this the next time it comes forward. Sorry for the procedural discussion.
no problem. It's really appreciated, so thank you for the consideration.
So you have asked for reconsideration of your motion, which was, and do we have a second on that? Motion to reconsider?
I'll second.
Thank you. All those in favor of reconsidering the last vote taken, say aye. Aye?
Nay.
Okay. So that means we do not have a reconsideration since we did just take a vote.
Sorry, did it need to be unanimous, or?
Because we are 4 board members out of 5, 4 out of 5 have to vote in favor, and we are only 4 tonight.
Okay, and may I ask, Board Member McLaughlin, what the reason is for nay? I'm just curious. We're just trying to cover some logistical steps here.
I just made my comments.
Yeah. So I don't want to get into.
Understood. I mean, I heard your point of view, Madam Chair, and it sounds like with the revision of that, we would have been able to cover both things that you mentioned in your statement.
Mm-hmm.
And now it doesn't sound like that would be the case.
So we all have to abide by the votes that we take. I have to, you just had a 3-to-1 vote. We have to abide by a 3-to-1 vote. This new matter has yet to come before us. And I think I've stated my position on consideration of that matter. So
Much appreciated.
The chair schedules hearings. It will appear on the agenda as appropriate with the timing. And we will continue discussion of the logistics of allowance or a vote for disallowance, because either is possible, up until that time. Okay. So
Thank you so much. Really appreciate your time. Have a good evening. Thank you.
have a good evening. Calling the next matter, this is ZBA 2023-10.
I'm not sure if the woman had something to comment, but it's related to the location, and she doesn't, not anymore. It's up to you.
Well, ma'am, this is related to 447 Water Street.
Yeah, so basically.
I need you to state your name and city.
Michelle
of residence.
Messenger.
Mm-hmm. And are you a Fitchburg resident?
I just moved to Fitchburg back in March.
Okay. And what is your comment, ma'am?
So I've had a lot of issues with this, the owner of the establishment. I'm still in dispute with him. I purchased a vehicle from him, which I paid him to go to the registries and stuff for me. I mean, I know that said it does not pertain to that. I know I'm just.
Yeah, so we have to stick to things that have something to do with
I just encourage if they are trying to get a license somewhere else in the area, I strongly do not recommend
this
it.
board does not control the licensing.
Okay.
That would be the licensing commission.
Thank you.
Or the city council sometimes.
Okay.
So,
thank you.
okay, have a good night. Next matter is ZBA 2023-10. This is 21 Union Street. This is a review of the special permit under Section 181.94 of the zoning ordinance to reinstate and change the use of a vacant or abandoned building from a church to a single-family dwelling pursuant to Section 181.333, located in Residential C District. Do we have anyone present in person who is here to speak on that matter? If someone is present virtually to speak on that matter, please raise your hand. Seeing none, did we have any communication from the permit holder?
I mailed the notifications and I made a phone call and communicated with one of the owners, and she told me that she was going to be present tonight. She apologized for the last meeting because of with the Thanksgiving holiday. She misplaced the notices and missed the meeting. But that's all.
Thank you for telling us. Mr. Commissioner, do you have any input on the status of this property?
So I am going through it.
Oh. Sir, if you'll wait just a moment. Mr. Commissioner, if you could finish your answer. Thank you.
So I'm looking through it. He does have a permit that was issued in August for replace roofing, replace siding, interior work to be done, new electrical wiring, new plumbing, kitchen, bathrooms, kitchen cabinets, separate permit for HVAC. That was issued in August after a number of starts and stops with other permits. Inspector Mark Sullivan did do a rough inspection on September 28th. and he passed the rough inspection on September 28th. I don't have any insulation inspections or anything beyond that rough inspection, but it appears he has been trying to progress.
Great. Thank you. If you'll give me just a moment, I need to pull up the last decision. Oh, thank you. Okay. So, sir, welcome. Can you tell me your name and city of residence?
Edwin Belize and 75 Beach Street in Fitchburg.
Thank you. So, can you give us a status update on the property?
So we are about to have it done. We're just waiting for painting and flooring inside the house. And for the exterior, we're just waiting for the curb cut for the driveway. And we are about 3 weeks to get the house complete done.
Great.
We did new windows where we needed, new siding, new roof.
Do I recall you were last here in September, sir? Or you were last here in October, right?
On October was the last time I was
In
here.
October. Okay.
No, I think I missed one meeting.
Sorry, sir, I'm just trying to find your last decision. And the computer does not always cooperate with me.
While you're looking, can I ask a question?
Go right ahead, sir.
Sir, what did you say about the completion of the product?
Of the project?
21 Union Street. What have you done on the inside so far?
So inside we have all the bathrooms done. We're just waiting on painting and flooring.
Are you sheetrocks up?
We did sheetrock over the existing.
I think you forgot something. Commissioner? Did you forget?
So you took it down to the studs,
No.
correct? No?
No. What we did was just go over the existing walls with a new sheetrock. We don't demo the property from the inside. So what we did there was they have an addition on the driveway. When they build the church, they have an addition on the left side of the house. So we tear down the addition to make the driveway.
Okay. So you didn't do any interior demolition?
Any interior demolition.
Okay.
Just one. Actually, we don't do any.
Okay.
The only demo we did was the addition.
Okay.
Okay.
So going through the decision, you didn't appear for November at the review. The last meeting that you were here for was July, and we had asked that a certified parking plan depicting dimensionally compliant spaces and all approvals from DPW be obtained. Did you submit a certified parking plan yet?
No, I don't. That's with the DPW?
It was to be submitted to the ZBA, but you'll require approval from the DPW for the driveway.
Okay.
And that's, I think, associated with the curb cut that
With
you
the
need
curb
from the
cut. So I
DPW.
already speak with someone in over there for the curb cut.
Okay. But we still required the certified parking plan. This board did.
So what I need to get, like a plot plan?
Certified parking plan.
Is it fair?
Engineer stamp
Okay,
or surveyor.
all right.
Okay. The conditions are not to be used as student housing or lodging house, which, since it's not being used right now, I don't think you're in
No,
violation
no,
of.
I'm still
Yep.
working on.
The roof was either to be removed altogether with asphalt shingles, or the slate was to be repaired. And I believe you did asphalt, right?
Asphalt, yeah.
Yeah. And that's completed?
Yeah, it's completed.
The vinyl siding to be installed, is that completed?
Completed too.
Any windows which are not new shall be replaced, as well as new exterior doors. Is
All the
that
windows
completed?
are replaced. All windows.
So the windows have been replaced,
Yes.
and the doors?
Well, the doors is brand new doors, but the windows we don't replace the one that was new. Before we buy the house, looks like the previous owner she changed some vinyl windows.
Well, it's, just so if they were new, if they were newly replaced by the old owner, that's fine. Otherwise, they were to be replaced. The exterior doors were to be replaced.
Yes.
Okay.
We have 2 new exterior doors.
Okay. No more than 2.5 baths.
Nope, 2.5 exactly.
Exterior renovation to be completed within 6 months of July, so you've got another month or two on that.
Yeah, I'm 2 weeks about to get it done.
Great.
Yeah.
So with
Actually, to get the final inspection, do I need to have the paint and the floors done, or I can pass the final inspection without that?
the inspection is up to the building department, but the occupancy permit will not issue until this board releases the hold.
Okay.
And that is, we want to see the conditions satisfied before the occupancy permit issues.
Okay.
Okay. And I believe, did you record the special permit at the Registry of Deeds?
Yes.
Okay. Right. And then you were not going to deviate from the plan by T Design dated June 2023, and you were going to have the demolition on the left-hand side of the building. Has that been completed?
It's completed.
Okay, thank you. All right. I'm going to look for any public comment first. Is there any person present who wishes to speak on this matter? Is there any person virtually who wishes to speak on this matter? Seeing none, do we have any department content? No department comments. And Mr. Commissioner, any other comment on this? No. Okay. Any board questions? Mr. Gallagher, any questions?
I'm all set. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Mr. Byrne? Mr. McLaughlin, any questions?
No, ma'am.
Okay. So I think if you really believe that you'll be completed in 2 weeks, we can. How full is the schedule for January, Mercedes?
Right now we have 6, 7, 8 cases.
Okay.
I do have one question, Madam Chair.
Yes.
Is the building insulated?
I'm not sure. I did insulation where the walls was open when we removed the addition. That's the only one. But we don't open the walls.
I'm sorry, you insulated where?
We take down the addition of the house, so we have to build a new wall over there. So in that wall, we get a new insulation.
Okay.
But the rest of the house, I'm not sure if we have insulation because we don't open any walls.
Okay. Commissioner, does that need to be inspected while it's open?
I'm looking right now. The insulation that was open needs to be inspected. I think that he had said that he hadn't opened up any walls when we asked him earlier, but Now that he's saying he has opened up walls, yes, that insulation needs to be inspected before it's boarded. So that's what
No,
we're
but I
trying to ask earlier.
don't open any walls in the house. It was just the one we tear down for the addition.
Yep, but we still need to inspect that insulation.
The inspector did it when he did the roof.
It's not shown on our records. When he came out in September, he did a rough inspection. He did not do an insulation inspection.
Okay.
So if you want to check with Inspector Sullivan about that. But I'm just looking at something else. So I'm hearing, so was this a church before and now it's being converted to residential? Is that
Yes.
what I'm understanding? So this was done in June of 2023 that this happened. And you are pretty much renovating the entire building, correct?
Yes.
So, given that fact, and Fitchburg is a stretch code community, and this was a change of use from a church to a single-family residential, I'm looking at this as the building commissioner, and I will have a conversation with our team, but, because we have a team meeting this week, but this building needs to be HERS rated, and under the stretch code, it needs to be HERS rated to the current stretch code.
I understand when you do like a complete demo inside, you are supposed to do that, but in this case, we don't do any demo, so we are just fixing the walls and the floors.
So, but it's a change of occupancy. So it doesn't matter if it's complete demo or not, you're changing occupancy from a church use, which is an assembly use or a business use, to a residential use as a single-family home. So that also trips it when you have a change of use, because it's a change of conditioning requirements.
Okay.
So I think, gentlemen, in order to move us forward for the evening, I am willing to schedule the review for January 9th, which is our next meeting. But I'm going to ask that if this issue does need to be addressed, because the energy code is, of course, our new challenge in this state, and that therefore you are not at the point of being ready for your certificate of occupancy, that you continue the review rather than keeping us on the schedule, okay?
Okay.
And if you make that request to continue, we'll be happy to look at that. Yes.
Just one additional comment. Under the front porch, is all debris, will that all be cleaned out and lattice work are properly screened?
Yes, we have a letters on it. It's not debris, it's like a kind of like a dot on under the porch. So we put letters on front.
Okay, thank you.
All right, I am going to look for a motion for the continuance of this review to January 9th, 2024.
I'll make the motion under ZBA 2023-10 for a continuance until January 9th, 2024.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Mr. Byrne, are you in favor of your motion? Thank you. Any opposed? None. All right, so we are continued until January 9th. I suggest that you speak to the building department as soon as possible to make sure that's resolved.
All right.
Okay? All right, we look forward to seeing
Thank
you then.
Good night.
All right, we are out of the reviews, and we are taking the first continued special permit, that is ZBA 2328, Jessica Beesall, 30 Harrow Gary Street. This is a special permit under Section 181.78 of the zoning ordinance to conduct a home occupation business for a studio salon pursuant to Section 181.94, located in Residential B District. Welcome to the meeting.
Thank you.
Could you please state your name and city of residence for the record?
Jessica Beesall, 30 Harrow Gary Street.
All right. Nice to see you, Ms.
Nice to see you
Beesall.
too. Thank you.
So you are here on a special permit to operate a home business, and I think at the last meeting at which you were scheduled, There's a request for a site visit to be conducted by the several board members, which I believe has happened. And before I go into any further questions, I'm just going to remind you that we are a 5-person board, but tonight there are 4 people here. That means that in order for the special permit to pass, we all have to vote in favor. If you would like the opportunity to have a full 5-member board, we will happily carry you over to January. It's up to you.
Okay.
How would you like to go forward?
I'm comfortable going forward today.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, so you are here on a special permit for a home occupation, and the reason that this requires a special permit is because there are, among other things, there's going to be customer visits to your facility because remote salon services do not exist.
Yes.
All right. Do you have any updates or other comments that you want to give the board before we review?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep, I do.
Thank you.
So originally, I was going to pursue the garage space, and after further review of parking concerns, I have decided that I would like to pursue the 3-season room or the porch that I have. That current space has a partially poured concrete foundation. The other part is decorative stone and dirt. It's a current patio area. The plumbing is accessible from the house. My space would be aligned with the current plumbing in my house, so this would require no additional outside assistance from the city like the garage would. It would also allow for more parking spots, as my 2 parking spots for my single-family home would be in my 2-car garage. This leaves 3 spots in my driveway available for clients. The project would be 204 square feet total, and I don't foresee it causing any problem with the community or the neighborhood. Yeah.
Okay. So that area, as I recall, is set back substantially from the front street.
Yes, yep, and I have the square footage of all of that. If you want me to present that, I can do that.
Are you looking to expand the footprint of the existing building, or are you going to be acting within the existing building?
Acting within.
Okay, great. Makes it easier for us to consider.
Yes.
Okay, so I would like to go through the criteria with you. But before I do that, I want to allow an opportunity for any public questions or comment. Have you submitted I don't know if you've submitted a new drawing to the board or not, but I haven't seen one.
I do have some unofficial drawings from, they're not engineer stamped, but I do have some drawings of potentially what I would like it to look like and what that would be. I do have some here if you would like to see that, or if that needs to be submitted, I can do that as well.
Anything that we see has to be kept for the minutes?
Yeah.
Does it represent the exterior? Are there any changes to the exterior of the building?
So there would be changes to the exterior, yes.
Okay. And so I think I would like to take a look at them, if you don't mind leaving the drawing with us.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Thank you. Are these several copies of the same thing?
Yes, I think
Wonderful.
there's 3 or 4 copies. Yep, 4.
All right. Thank you. Okay. So we have a picture of the existing exterior,
Yes.
and so that is the sun porch. Okay. Now, it says new addition but that's remaining within the same footprint of the building.
It is, yep. So essentially the three-season room would have to be torn down, of course. So part of that is already existing. I believe there's like an additional 100 square feet that would have to be built out, if that makes sense.
Is it built out closer to the street or closer to the rear boundary?
It is built out
Side.
closer to the side.
Okay, thanks. Just, the reason that I ask is I believe that you are non-conforming as to the rear yard setback, so if you are any further towards the rear yard, that's an issue, but you have plenty of room on the side yard.
Yes.
Yeah.
My yard's oddly shaped.
Okay. All right. I'm going to look for any public comment, and if anybody is here who wishes to take a look at these materials, please approach, and you're welcome to do so. Is any person here to speak on this matter? Okay, I'm going to look virtually. If anyone is here to speak on this matter, please raise your hand. I see none. Do we have any department comments? Okay. And Mr. Commissioner, I believe you have not seen this plan.
I was just handed that.
Great.
So my comments are more for information, if this is given, things that will need to be considered. And they're very strong considerations. One is you will need to make the building handicapped accessible.
Okay.
So, and I'm looking at the elevations, that might be a challenge.
Okay.
And so you may need to build a ramp or something.
Sure.
Which will encroach onto setbacks, most likely. So we'll need to see a site plan to make sure you don't encroach on your side setbacks.
Okay.
For that. But so it might behoove you to have a drawing for this board submitted. Also, the state plumbing code just updated.
Okay.
I don't remember what the requirements were under the old plumbing code, but the new plumbing code, you're also going to have a mop sink requirement.
Okay.
And I saw in the drawing that you're having a small 4x5 bathroom. That's going to have to be larger for an accessible bathroom because you need a 5-foot zone of accessibility for that. So that bathroom is going to have to be reconfigured a bit so that you can meet all of the accessibility requirements associated with that.
Okay.
Just those are kind of my, off the top of my head, big items that really may impact your cost and feasibility of this.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Looking for any board member questions at this point in time, Mr. Byrne?
No, I'm much more comfortable now that she's building it than she does putting it in the garage. I didn't like that idea, but this is not bad at all.
No, I think it's a nice accommodation. Mr. Gallagher, any questions or comments?
I think it's a wonderful accommodation and it would be a nice improvement to the home. Very much in favor of what I see. Thank you.
Mr. McLaughlin?
I like the plan that was submitted, the concept. So as long as we go through the criteria for the special permit, home occupation,
Okay, thank you.
I do have a quick question.
Go ahead.
The comments that he had made, will Mercedes give me that criteria so I can make sure or I just want to make sure that I don't not remember and I don't have anything to write this down.
So there are criteria that we have to examine in order to consider whether or not to grant the special permit. And those questions I'll ask you tonight.
Okay.
The criteria for actually going through with the construction, I think it is best to reach out to the building department tomorrow or the next day.
Okay.
And go over those more carefully. When we look at a plan, and remembering that this is obviously not an engineered plan, doesn't have a full representation of the outside, I think you're going to get some additional additional things necessary, additional considerations outside of this hearing.
Thank you.
And probably some follow-up if the board is inclined to grant. All right, so I'm going to go through the criteria with you now. All right. So these are the qualifications which have to be met. First, that the home business is clearly incidental and secondary to the use of the premises for residential purposes. You reside there as your primary residence?
Yes.
And you plan to continue doing so after the business is
Yes.
constructed? Okay. The next criteria is that the business would not produce offensive noise, vibration, smoke, dust, odors, heat, lighting, electrical interference, radioactive emissions, or environmental pollution. Would you say that the business does any of those things?
Nope.
And I'm just going to ask this question in public, as I had asked it to you on a site visit. You do plan to offer nail services at the salon, but you are using materials which will not require the ventilation that is required for acrylics, for instance.
Yep, that is correct.
Okay.
Yep.
And I've asked that you just be sure on that.
Yep.
And I'm sure the building department will follow up to be sure as well.
Thank you.
And the Board of Health. There's not going to be any exterior storage of materials or equipment.
No.
Okay. You will need to register as a business, as a DBA or otherwise with the city clerk.
Yep.
Okay, so that would be
problem.
a condition. The business must be conducted by the persons occupying the dwelling as their primary residence, and no more than one additional employee. So you are not planning on having any more employees than yourself and one person?
Just me.
Right now, just you?
Yeah.
Would you foresee in the future expanding to an employee in addition to yourself?
Probably not.
So if we grant the special permit and there are conditions that would be looked at as a condition, so if you do want to retain the possibility of doing that?
Okay. Sure. Yeah.
Yeah, but no more than one.
Okay.
The business would not exhibit any exterior indication of its presence or any variation from residential appearance except for a sign or nameplate in compliance with the sign ordinance, which I am definitely not going to go through with you, but I suggest that you bring any proposed signage
Sure.
to the building department for review. Generally, if you just have something identifying the business, which I do think is necessary,
Okay.
because we don't want people to be wandering the neighborhood confused, that will cause some bother to abutters.
Sure.
But not a digital sign in motion with blaring lights, obviously, or
Nope.
anything close to that. And then we can condition any special permit on restriction on hours of operation, floor area, off-street parking, daily customer trips, et cetera. And I'm just going to review the information as I recall it with you. Hours of operation are Monday through Saturday?
Tuesday through Saturday.
Okay. And 9 a.m. to 6 p.m.?
So some of the hours will vary. So typically, Tuesday would be like a 12 to 7. Wednesday would be a 9 to 4. Thursday would be similar, like a 12 to 7. Friday 9 to 5, and then Saturday 8 to 4.
Okay.
I can obviously have flexibility with the hours. Yeah.
Yep. I'm sure a lot of your business is done on after work hours and
Yes.
weekends.
Yep.
In consideration of the fact that the play school is down the street from you,
Yep.
would you consider Tuesday through Friday having operator hours starting at 10 a.m. rather than 9 a.m.?
Fine with me.
Okay.
Yep.
And you propose to go up until 7 p.m.?
Yes.
And then on Saturdays, 8 to 4.
Yep.
You're not going to have any more than one chair at a time?
Just one chair. Yep.
All right. And then just to know, the special permit by the terms of the ordinance has to be limited to no more than 5 years at a time. And if the property is transferred before that time, the special permit would expire, just like you saw in an earlier hearing.
Yep.
Okay. All right. At this point in time, if there are no other questions for the petitioner from the board, seeing none, anything to say before I close the public hearing?
No, I just appreciate your time. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. All right. Without objection, the public hearing is closed. Any discussion from the board members before we move into a decision? Mr. Byrne, discussion? Mr. Gallagher, discussion?
Nope, none.
Mr. McLaughlin, discussion?
Madam Chair, thank you for taking us through the criteria.
All right. So as far as discussion goes, I would like to see the plans as they develop. I know that the petitioner had some concern about the cost of the plans prior to allowance of the special permit, but I would like to see them afterwards.
Sure.
And as other than that, I think with the limitations that we've discussed on the hours, the number of employees, the number of customers being served at one time, the availability of sufficient parking. There are 3 spaces. I do think we need to confirm that as part of the plans that we see afterwards, but I do agree they're there. And then construction staying within the footprint or at most extending into the side yard, which does not have a setback issue. I think that I would be in favor of this special permit. I think the applicant is very motivated and energized, and I think it's a good home occupation for the residential neighborhood. So.
I concur.
All right, then I'd like to have a motion in the affirmative for the allowance of the special permit.
I'll make a motion on the ZBA 2023-28 for Jessica Beazle. Property is 30 Harry Gary Street for a special permit as requested with the conditions as stated by the chair.
Okay, and just to review, the conditions would be following the ordinance. No more than 1 customer chair in service at any one time. Petitioner must register with the city clerk as a business. Petitioner must continue to reside in the property as their primary residence. There shall be no more than 1 employee in addition to the permit holder. There shall be no signage except in accordance with Section 181.7823. Hours of operation shall be Tuesday through Friday, 10 to 7, and Saturday, 8 to 4. Three off-street parking spaces shall be provided and documented through a certified parking plan submitted to the building department. Applicants shall submit a drawing of the exterior modifications of the building. Special permit to expire upon the earlier of 5 years, or the transfer of the property from the petitioner. So just remember that is specific to you,
Okay,
not a business,
great.
you personally.
Okay.
And then because we are looking for those additional plans to be submitted, I do want to schedule what I would like to do is to put in a provision that the board has the right to schedule a review date without specifying the review date. And that review date may be scheduled with 14 days' notice to the permit holder.
Okay.
Okay. So that would be for stated conditions. Any other conditions or comment on the conditions?
I'm sure things may change. This is beautiful, so if this is kind of the concept that like somehow we're accepting this to some extent, I'm sure that once she comes up with something concrete, it's probably going to change, but in principle, that's...
So a final condition that the design shall be consistent with the existing structure and style of the residence.
Yeah.
And concept submitted.
And concept submitted.
Yeah, thanks.
No. Be a lovely place for salon services to be rendered. All right, then I am, do we have a second on the motion?
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? None? You are granted the special permit. Okay. I'm reminded about the plans to be submitted and the discussion with the building department on the requirements under the building code, of course. And we will likely call you back for some review, but we will notify you on the date.
Okay.
Okay? Thank you and good luck with your business.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Have a good evening.
Okay. All right.
Dads. He's gonna be your best friend.
Our team can work with you, though,
Okay.
and I'm happy to work with you as well. But we're all a team in the department.
So I am going to announce that there is, there is the last matter on the agenda dated ZBA 23-35, 513 Williams Road, which was scheduled for 7:45. There was an issue with adequate notice being served on all of the abutters. And because of that, the hearing was not properly noticed. That means we cannot open the public hearing. What I am asking, and I believe the applicants are here, correct? So I don't want to keep anybody that is here for that hearing because we cannot, again, we cannot open it without properly notifying all of the abutters. It would be not fair. Everybody has a chance to comment. So are you willing to sign the extension, ma'am, sir? Yes. Okay. If you could approach, please. And we still have room on the January agenda. We're not up to 10. Okay. Okay. So this extends the deadline for us to open the public hearing until January 9th, which is the next meeting date. and it states that it is extended to 35 days thereafter. That's in case we have a snowstorm, which prevents us from holding a meeting on January 9th. And so if you are in agreement, I would need both of, I think you're both the permit, both. So if you could both sign on lines 1 and 2. Thank you. And I'm going to sign that as well. So this public hearing, because we cannot continue today, will be opened for the first time at the hearing on January 9th. The agenda will be posted on the city's website. We are required to post it at least by the Thursday before, but it should be posted substantially before that. And that will state the time of the hearing. Okay, so take a look at that. The applicant would be notified of the time by the building department. Anyone else who is here who wishes to speak or make comment and wants to know the time, you are also welcome to call the building department, and we will make sure you are notified. If anyone, and because I do appreciate that people came tonight to make public comment, and we do appreciate participation in the public process. If it is difficult for you to return for the January 9th hearing, please remember that you are welcome to submit public comment by email to the building department prior to the hearing, and we will read it and take it into consideration. You are also welcome to appear remotely, so that you do not have to come here in person, and we do take remote comment. Okay. Given that, I would ask the board for a motion to approve the extension agreement signed by the petitioner.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
None opposed? Continued until January 9th. Thank you. We apologize for the delay. I apologize to any abutters who took the time to come here, and I do look forward to seeing or speaking with you at the next hearing. And I thank Mercedes for reminding me so that we did not hold anybody up further. Speaking of which, we are now proceeding to the next item on the agenda, ZBA 23-33, 133 Cedar Street. This is a request for favorable action within 2 years of unfavorable action due to specific and material changes and conditions under MGL Chapter 40A, Section 16. It's also a request to submit a new application for special permit under Section 181.333 and 181.336 of the zoning ordinance to reinstate a vacant or abandoned nonconforming structure as a two-family dwelling pursuant to Section 181.94, located in the Residential B District, Map 22, Block 36, Lot 0, after unfavorable action by decision dated February 21st, 2023. And having reviewed the application materials, I'm just going to note that the petitioner has also sought an appeal of the building commissioner's decision. So I believe in representation of the applicant, we have Attorney Bobrowski available virtually, and counsel, you are welcome to begin your presentation, and welcome to this meeting.
Madam Chair.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. Mark Bobrowski for the record. My office is in Concord, Massachusetts. I represent the petitioner/appellant this night, which is RPN Real Estate Investment Group, LLC. Record property address is 133 Cedar Street, as you mentioned.
Thank you. Counsel, there's the building commissioner wants to say something before you begin, and I apologize for interrupting.
And I apologize for interrupting as well, Attorney Bobrowski and Madam Chair. And I wanted to try to catch the attention of the board before we kind of went into spending a lot of time on this. Mm-hmm. I'm reading the memo from Attorney Silverstein and going through kind of the case history on this and reading all of the case history on this case. And it appears that this third unit, basement unit, was added sometime after 97 without any appeals or any enforcement. But then that third unit was abandoned sometime prior to 2009, as was noted in previous appeals, and was used exclusively as a two-family. So the applicant at that point abandoned the three-family use and started utilizing it as a two-family use. And given that fact, I'm not sure I would have, as the current building commissioner, acted in the same position as my predecessor with this, in the determination that it was not an exempt use to be revived administratively, and that and pushing it to a special permit under the 181.333. And I, in reviewing all of the facts, would feel, at least myself as the building commissioner, and I don't know if I have this authority to overrule my predecessor or not, but I would view this in the light of 181.335, actually 181.3355, specifically alteration to a non-conforming structure which does not increase the footprint of the existing structure, provided that the existing height restriction shall not be exceeded for a two-family house.
Okay. Let me take a moment and correct one of the things. And I realize that, I will say during my short tenure on this board, this has been before us 3 times. The history is long and convoluted. The finding of the board was not that it fell back to a two-family use after 2009. The finding was that it was abandoned. And not only that it was not being used, but that the structure had been abandoned.
Okay. The full structure had been.
The full structure had been abandoned. So I would.
Clarification. My understanding was that it had been reverted back to a two-family and used as a two-family from that point. So thank you for that clarification. Then I rescind all of what I just said.
Okay. Thank you. I appreciate the contribution. Council, I am sorry for the delay. Please proceed on your presentation, and welcome to the meeting.
Thank you very much. I do appreciate the building commissioner's attempt to move this into an as-of-right category, because that's pretty much exactly what I'm going to do as well. It's my understanding that there was a third dwelling unit here that was not lawfully created, but it survived the statute of limitations for enforcement, which was six years. And my partner, Jonathan Silverstein, who prepared a memo for you that I believe you have in your packet, was right to point out that the controlling case is Bruno versus Board of Appeals of Rentham. Jonathan, in fact, argued that case to the appeals court. We declined to construe the expiration of the 6-year limitation period as converting an initially unlawful use to a lawful use. So that means that the structure, the use of the structure in question has always been a two-family, not a three-family. There's also, no doubt, a non-conforming structure aspect to this, in that there are some setback violations and the lots got an area problem. So having said that, when I look at the building commissioner's September 29th form of intent for this property, I think he's just on the wrong page when he says that this is governed by section 181.3332. This is a alter to provide for a substantially different purpose or the same purpose in a substantially different manner or to a substantially greater extent. That's a provision from the statute that applies to non-conforming structures, section 6. It's only got one case at the appellate level attached to it, probably for good reason. When you apply it here, was the structure proposed to be altered for a substantially different purpose? Well, it's residential to residential. Or for the same purpose in a substantially different manner. There's no proposal to move the footprint or alter the building by expansion or anything of that sort. or to a substantially greater extent. Again, not applicable here. It'll be lesser, if anything. So I don't believe that that provision of your ordinance applies. And I have to take pleasure in reminding you that I wrote a version of the Fitchburg Ordinance somewhere back in the 1990s, such a long time ago now. What I would suggest is that the applicable provision here is instead 181 3.362A. This is headed exempt structure or use, and it says any legal non-conforming structure or use that's been abandoned or not used for 2 years. And then under A, it says is one of the following. A is pretty easy to meet. It's a single or a two-family dwelling. As I just said under Bruno, this is a two-family dwelling. The property is located in a zoning district which permits any use, residential use as of right, and that is in fact the case in this situation. The proposed residential use or structure may reduce but will not increase any nonconformity, including but not limited to use, dimension, and parking. As I mentioned just a second ago, there's no proposal here to do any work to the structure that would increase any existing nonconformities. In fact, the applicant's prepared to provide 4 parking spaces as shown on the plan that he submitted. And then lastly, the building commissioner must determine in accordance with all applicable building, health, fire, and codes that the structure is safe or can be made safe. And the applicant seeks an opportunity to convince the building commissioner that that is indeed the case. That seems to be the perfect fit for what is being proposed here, not what the building inspector and the building commissioner suggested in his September 29th letter. I'll stop there because there is another alternative argument that I can make, but I like this one the best.
Okay. So I think that when you submitted the appeal, counsel, you submitted an appeal suggesting application of 3362 sub A, and in the alternative sub B. And if you'd like, we can vote on that separately, or you may present both arguments at this point in time.
I can cover B as well, but I don't need to cover B if you agree with me under Bruno, the holding in Bruno, that this was always a two-family structure, even though there was an illegal third unit that cleared the statute of limitations, because the clear holding in the Bruno case is that that didn't convert it to a lawful 3-bedroom or 3-family structure.
Okay. I do need to seek public comment on that issue before we go to a vote or discussion by the board. So thank you, counsel, and I will come back to you when we have other questions.
Thank you.
I am going to ask, is there any member of the public present who would like to make comment? Sir, you're welcome to approach the podium, state your name and city of residence, and then make your comment on this issue, which is the appeal of the building commissioner's decision that it does not fall under the two-family structure provisions of the zoning ordinance. I'm going to seek public comment first. Is it?
Just have a procedural question.
Sure, that's fine.
If I may. Where does the 2-year come in? Are we going to vote on whether we're even going to hear this case? I'm just
Sure. The appeal of the building commissioner's decision, and I looked back at the immediately prior case to see if there was an appeal of the building commissioner's decision. There was not. There was not an appeal. It was an application for the special permit. To this board. The application for special permit is subject to the 2-year rule. The appeal, because it did not occur in the last matter, is not subject to the 2-year rule because we did not hear an appeal. Okay. Go ahead, sir.
Yes. Thomas Cross, 139 Cedar Street. I directly abut this property. And I think I've stated several times, at least 8 years now, that this has been going on. I've yet to see a proper plan drawn up for off-street parking, which is my main concern. My second concern is for safety in the neighborhood. There's only one small parking space in front of this house, which isn't even legal. Even if you park there, you're partially blocking what is one of their driveways, one of their two small driveways. The other thing is, I don't know what their parking plan is, so I can't really comment on that. That hasn't been explained to me. But all the other parking plans that have been introduced have been shot down because there's absolutely no room on that small plot of land for parking. And not only the parking, it creates a situation with bad weather. You have to have snow removal, drainage. There's no way that you can remove the snow. There's no area for drainage. Third thing is, the left-hand side of the building that directly abuts my property, some of that driveway is on my property. There's no clearance space to even open doors for cars against their house or against my fence that would obstruct my property. That's my main concern. And the other concern is, excuse me, several people throughout the years that have appealed this, some of them are dead or have moved on. That's how long this thing has been going on. And there's been no physical improvements as far as expanding that particular property for off-street parking, which is a main concern on this street. Even with residential parking with stickers, it's overfilled already. People use it illegally. The school's right across the street. Across the street from where I live, there's over 700 people. They're supposed to use the university parking lot. The university parking lot doesn't even take care of the commuter parkers. So people without stickers are taking up residential spaces. This building would only add severely to the inconvenience of the people that live around that building. Now, in the past, Kevin Bedard has been up here. He lives across the street. He's been before the board. He couldn't get here tonight. Mr. Quinto, Edison Quinto, who owns the property that directly abuts this building on the other side, he has a formal letter. I don't know if that's still on file.
I recall the letter from the prior case, sir.
Okay, so I talked to him, and he did not get a notice about this property. Kevin got one, but Edison did not get one. Now, I don't know if the people behind got, proper notification on this or not. That I don't know. But anyway, Edison said he has the same feelings that he had before, that this is not doable in the sense that it would just be a further hindrance to what's over an extremely overcrowded area, beyond belief. I mean, I don't have to explain it to you people. You know what the state university does. They expand, they do things as they want, but they have no concern for the residents. And then people that want to invest in property, if this was a single-family home and taken down, that would be wonderful. But this isn't the case. There's absolutely no room for this type of a building complex.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Okay, and that's...
If you have any other different comments, but the board has definitely heard your comments a number of times.
But I do reserve one question in reserve at a later date or a later hearing. Okay.
The board will address this portion of the appeal.
Okay.
If this portion of the appeal is denied, then it will address the next portion of the appeal. If that is also not denied, then we will move on to the issue of whether or not to allow a rehearing within 2 years of an unfavorable decision.
Okay. Now, one other thing.
And I will allow you at each point to make a brief public comment of anything different to say.
All right. Okay. All right. Thank you. I'll listen to the rest of it. Thank you, Madam Chairman.
Thank you, sir. Is there any other person present in the audience who wishes to make a comment on this matter? Is there any other person virtually who wishes to make a comment? If so, please raise your hand. Okay. We see none. Do we have any department comments? You've put it all together. Okay. So we just had a communication from Attorney Silverstein letting us know that Attorney Bobrowski would be appearing.
It's a joke.
We have a denial from the building commissioner dated March 16th, 2023, of an application for a building permit that was by Inspector Zupa. We had a communication from the current property owner to the building department dated March 16th, 2023, requesting information on the existence of a decision, which was forwarded by Ms. Mata on March 17th, 2023. I'm just trying to find any other, okay. So from DPW, we have a comment stating that, is that for this one? That's
This is DPW.
right, but is that this property or is that the other one?
No, this is this property.
Okay. The comment is that an additional unit triggers a sewer connection fee and sewer connection permit to be submitted with the primary building permit. Each additional unit is subject to a $1,000 connection fee. Prior to issuance of sewer connection permit, DPW engineering must witness the CCTV inspection of the sewer service to determine that the condition is satisfactory for reuse. From community development, although additional housing units are needed in the community, this is a dense area without adequate parking for the existing units. Community development would strongly recommend additional parking be identified and secured as a requirement for approval. From planning, there's a note that this matter is on the planning board agenda for December the 19th. From the Board of Health, prime location for college housing, would like to see rehab to prevent decay, blight, and a trash dump. Thank you, Board of Health, for the descriptive comment. This is a copy of the form and intent, so I think we have reached all comments, right? Thank you. Okay. So those are the comments. I'm going to go back to the building commissioner since you are here and ask if you have any other comment on this portion of the appeal.
Nothing that hasn't already been said.
Okay.
I do acknowledge the fact that I have received training at annual seminars for building officials on zoning, where the differentiation between non-conforming and immune from enforcement has been clarified to me as a building official, and what Attorney Bobrowski said is very similar to what those trainings have stated. But I'm not an attorney, and it's not my place to make that determination when it's appealing in front of this board.
Okay. I am not going to close the public hearing. I'm going to give my feedback on this argument or this analysis under the zoning ordinance. And Attorney Bobrowski, after I give that, you are welcome to make a further response. I am going to then hold a vote, which I think I will style as a finding before proceeding to a final vote on the approval or denial of the appeal. So this property is stymieing both to this board and the city, and I know to the abutter as well, and to the many petitioners who have come before us. But this is the issue, and this is within the findings that were made in the July 13th No, that's the wrong one. In the last decision of the board, which with your tolerance, I'm going to, and Mercedes' help, I'm going to bring out. Here we are. I print everything out before the hearing. Do you have it? Yeah, that's the one. So, which was dated December, it was held at a meeting dated on December 13th, 2022, and this is the decision that was recorded at the Registry of Deeds. The last legally non-conforming use, as that term is defined under the zoning ordinance in section 181.3362, was as a two-family. After the building permit issued in 1997, at least, the structure was modified for a three-unit structure, and the use commenced as a three-family dwelling. And because that began under permit, it was exempt from enforcement, given that enforcement action did not proceed against that within the appropriate period of time. The structure, the board found, was abandoned after 2016, again, at the least. We had the 2016 amendment to Chapter 40A, Section 7, that said if you had a use or a structure that began under permit and there was no enforcement action taken, I believe, within 6 years, it was exempt from enforcement action, but also that any structure, whether or not legally begun, that was in existence for 10 years, became a legally non-conforming structure entitled to protection under Chapter 40A, Section 6. When the board looked at this property, the two-family use was the last legal use. Because that is a use allowed in this district by right, that has never been a non-conforming use. And there is no action that is needed to approve the use at the board level. What has happened is that the structure was converted from a two-unit residential structure to a three-unit residential structure. And that three-unit residential structure, given that it has been in existence for more than 10 years, given that that was the case in 2016, and given after its abandonment, the structure continued to be a three-unit residential structure. It is the structure that requires resumption from the abandonment provisions. The structure is what must be revived because the board cannot revive anything that was not the last legally non-conforming structure that was abandoned. And that is a long explanation, I understand, of why this is treated under the abandonment ordinance as a three-unit structure. And I'm trying to be careful not to say use. I am saying structure. And thus does not fall under 3362 sub A, which only looks at single and two-family dwellings, structures or uses. And for that reason, I would uphold that portion of the building commissioner's decision. I don't know if any other board member wants to make a comment, but I am going to allow Attorney Bobrowski to respond to that. So, counsel, you're welcome to speak. I'm also going to say that I see that there is another person who has their hand raised virtually. I will allow that person to speak after this concludes. Counsel?
Thank you. It's my understanding that the amendment that you're referring to protects only non-conforming structures. It doesn't have anything to do with uses. I think that there's always been a confusion between use and structure, what terms should apply when we're talking about dwelling units, ones, twos, threes, multifamily. What is that a non-conforming structure or is it a non-conforming use? I don't think that the provision that you're citing, which is in Chapter 48, Section 7, addresses the use aspect of this. No action, suit, or proceeding shall be maintained by a court, nor other action taken to compel the removal, alteration, or relocation of a structure or part of a structure because of a violation if real property has been used and improved, as you mentioned, for a period of 10 years. So it's structure that it's targeting, not use. And I don't think it goes as far as protecting uses.
I would, not to interrupt you, but I agree with you. It does not protect uses. It does not convert a use improperly started under permit from a use that is exempt from enforcement to a pre-existing non-conforming protected use. I agree on that. It is the fact that the structure is a 3-unit that needs to be addressed. A 3-unit structure that was abandoned. And I'll also just offer to you, Attorney Bobrowski, that I had asked this question of Attorney Flick, who handled the prior case, whether there was any authority differentiating the treatment of a X-unit structure from an X-unit use or defining the two. And he could not find any, and I could not find any. And therefore, because I don't see anything that says residential structures are different, that the use and the structure are kind of treated as one, I have continued to look at them separately. But I'd be glad to hear anything you have to offer on that.
Well, I think it throws it back to Bruno, Madam Chair, because if we agree that it applies only to structures and not to uses, then the holding in Bruno is we decline to construe the expiration of a 6-year limitation period as converting an initially unlawful use to a lawful use.
Right.
As if belated or constructed by grant of right. So
the use is allowed by right. The structure under
but the 3-family use is not allowed by right.
No, so the 2-family use is allowed by right in the district and always has. It's never been a non-conforming use. It is the 3-family structure, 3-unit structure, however we want to term that, because of Section 7 and its existence for more than 10 years, converted it to a legally pre-existing non-conforming structure until abandonment. And therefore, it's the structure. Go ahead, sir.
That's where I would differ with you. I think the structure is the structure. It's got the same footprint. It's got the same height. It's got the same setback violations, regardless of whether it's a 2 or a 3-unit building. And the use is the 2 or the 3. I don't think that's an aspect of the structural nonconformity. I think the structure is measured by the box that you provided in your zoning for height and setbacks, and for FAR or whatever lot coverage, if you've got those as well. The use can change within the structure, and the structure will remain non-conforming no matter what the use is within it, if you look at it that way. So here I think, and Bruno agrees, that you've got an unlawful use for all practical purposes that survives the statute of limitations, and it doesn't make that aspect of the use conforming at the end of the 6 years. It doesn't change that at all. If it was a lawful two-family, what I'm trying to say is if it was a lawful two-family, and it is because that's allowed in the district, then the fact that it survived the statute of limitations doesn't convert it into a lawful three-family. It's still a lawful two-family with a unit that cannot be enforced against.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
I would also point out in the alternative, and I don't know if you want to go there yet, that under B, and I'm sure you've got your eye on it too, a single, two, or three-family dwelling can also be considered for relief here, and there's a test similarly spelled out there. And I would, in perusing that and discussing it with Attorney Silverstein, I don't know that we don't have the benefit of that as well. The structure and use meet the requirements of 1 and 3 above, so it's in a zoning use, a district which provides for a residential use. And the building inspector has to determine that it'll comply with all applicable regulations. The owner has to submit a plan for rehabilitation of the building, which keeps, which is at least 50% of the square footage of the area, no problem. And the structure or use meets the zoning requirements for the number of off-street spaces. Here, that would be 4, and there is a plan submitted for 4.
So I don't know if we want to move to that yet.
I'm not giving up on the first one, but it is a very esoteric argument. So
yeah. I'm going to ask if there's any board member on the issue of whether this should be treated as a two-family structure able to be resumed under the building commissioner's determination in 3362 sub A. On that issue, does any board member have a comment or want to ask a question of Attorney Bobrowski? Okay. Okay. That being the case, I'm going to, again, I'm not going to close the hearing because we have other issues, but I'd like the board to vote on a finding, and this would be a motion for a finding in the affirmative that the building commissioner's decision that the property at 133 Cedar Street was not eligible to be treated as an exempt structure under section 181.3362A because it was not a two-family structure. So I'm going to ask for a motion in the affirmative for a finding that the building commissioner's determination should be overruled.
I'll make a motion in the affirmative.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All those in favor? All those opposed?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Attorney Bobrowski, we're going to move on to Section B. And again, I think we have the argument of whether sub B paragraph 1 is met. I don't think that's in question. Paragraph 2 requires 50% of the square footage to be rehabilitated as well as the facade, and you've stated that you've submitted a plan which does make that proposal.
I believe it's 100% in this case, Madam Chair.
Okay. The continuation of Section 2 is, and the proposed modification either reduces or does not increase any existing nonconformity.
I take that to mean dimensional nonconformity, and that is indeed not the plan.
Okay. And then the structure or use meets the zoning requirements for the number of off-street parking spaces in Section 181.51.
And here we take that to mean for a 2-unit building, and that would be 4 parking spaces, which I believe is shown on the plan.
I will say that I had looked back at Section 181.51 in the table of parking uses, and it is specified by use, not by structure. So I do agree with you that the number of parking spaces would be for a 2-family use would be 4.
Thank you.
But I would like you to address, because this is something that I know the abutters had some concern with. Every board member that I know that has gone to the property has some concern with. The proposed parking is to construct 2 tandem spaces on either side of the property. And there is a parking plan that has been submitted, and I believe that with this submission, it was a certified plan stamped by an engineer. Is that correct, sir?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm getting a text from my partner, but he does say we are proposing 4 spaces specifically shown on the plan.
Okay. So there is a 3-foot offset, a 3-foot setback required for driveways. And it does not appear to me that the parking on the left-hand side of the plan would meet that setback.
And is that a current situation, or is that a new nonconformity?
So in this property, the addition of the second parking space on the left, that is a new parking space. I will also say that the existing pavement on the one space that is in the front I don't think it extends to the length that it is displayed in this plan, because I think this plan shows proposed parking, not current asphalt, and also from my observations on the property. Mm-hmm. But because the property slopes down so severely in the back of the yard, that second tandem parking space would require the construction not only of just an additional little bit of asphalt, but also a very substantial retaining wall to support it. It was an 8 to 12-foot drop from the street level. So,
may I make a suggestion?
Go ahead.
If you conclude the section B, it says the last requirement is the number of parking spaces. Mm-hmm. And I don't think there's any doubt that it shows 4. But if you go back to number 1 under B, it has to meet the requirements of A1 and A3. Mm-hmm. And A1 is it properly zoned. But A3 says the building commissioner determines that it complies with all applicable codes. I assume that means the zoning ordinance as well. So what if there were a determination made that, subject to the building commissioner's determination that the parking complies with the provisions that you're describing, this is something that can go forward? And they have to satisfy the building commissioner.
Right, so I think that would be on whether the wall would be structurally sound. And I would agree that's something that should definitely occur if that is constructed.
If that were the case, Madam
Yes.
Chair.
Yes,
If that
Mr.
were the
Byrne.
case, and the wall was to be placed there, and the fill is brought in to fill up that hole that would be made there, for those spaces, there would be absolutely no space for snow removal or the storage of snow. So that's
The,
a moot point.
well, I think what this also affects is that additional parking space in the back increases, it either is a new nonconformity because of the setback.
You can't get to that.
We don't have the 3-foot setback for the parking space. So that's my concern with it. And I did promise the abutter an opportunity to speak again on this portion, sir. You're welcome to, if you would like. And then there was a gentleman online. I also stated I would be happy to have them heard.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. But you brought up another good point about if you do try to expand that driveway, that small driveway, there is no place to remove snow, there's no place for drainage, and on top of that, part of the driveway on that 133 to 135 Cedar Street, and I just got a real question. How come it doesn't say 133 to 135 on the application? It used to, but now it just says 133. It's just a small thing, but I'm just wondering about that, why it only says 133.
I don't have an answer for you, sir.
Okay, all right, fine. But anyway, if they were to go forward and try to build these parking spaces on that side of the building, which abuts my property, they'd be utilizing my property. They'll be taking about 30 feet of it back, maybe to 40 feet, and about 6 to 8 inches of my property. And I just, we've given up enough up in that area as far as being inconvenienced. And this to me would be over the top. It makes no sense that this could be allowed. That's all I have to say.
Okay. Sir, I'm just going to ask you, because I did say I would give you an opportunity to look at the parking plan that was offered. And that is an engineered plan. Is that you? Or is that one you? So this is the street and the front of the building.
So my house is over here.
Right. Yeah, so there's a fence marked there.
Yeah, that's my fence. And part of the fence is right on, what used to be a retaining wall on my property. But when people living next door years ago, they knocked down part of the retaining wall. But that's a story for another day. So all that's left is a small part of the retaining wall that shows the border between my property and their property. And that, all of that concrete wall that runs, fence that runs back there, that's my property. So they'd be utilizing it and gobbling out some of my property.
Thank you, sir.
Do I get a copy of that?
I can.
No, that's all right. We'll give you a copy, but that's my main
I think we can, after the meeting is, I can certainly leave it for you, sir.
Why don't you stop down to the building department and pick it up?
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Okay. There was a person online who wanted to speak. That was Mr. Roberts. You're welcome to speak if you want. If your comment has passed, that's fine too. Okay.
Hello?
Hi, Mr. Roberts?
Yes, can you hear me?
I can. Please state your name and city of residence, and then you're welcome to make a brief comment.
Jamie Roberts, Dayton, Massachusetts.
Okay. Go right ahead, sir.
I just have a question. In that area, every home at the end of that street are multifamily usage. I want to know that.
I'm sorry, you've gone mute, sir.
Because, yes, every house on that block is either multifamily home. If we change the actual use of this property from a multifamily home to a single family home, that definitely affects that area. Maybe I'm misunderstanding is that the previous owner had an illegal basement, right? Not applying to the new owners who don't want a new basement. They just want it to be a two-family like it states. And I'm kind of confused as to why we can't, going forward, we can't have it as two-family and make decisions from there.
Okay. Thank
Madam,
you, sir.
for clarification, is this the applicant?
This is the petitioner, yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, sir. All right. Attorney Probowski, any final comment before we move to a finding on this section of the appeal?
I do think, as I mentioned, that the involvement of the building commissioner, who must determine that this complies with all building, health, fire, and applicable codes, that the structure is safe, including, I would suspect, the concrete retaining wall, and can be made safe pursuant to a plan. I'm looking at the plan. Should alleviate any fears that you would have. I don't expect that the building inspector is going to let something unsafe or trespassing go forward. So I think these provisions that you have, which are very unusual in terms of the preservation, I haven't seen anything like this since I rezoned Holyoke back around 1990, where virtually all of the downtown was not only abandoned or discontinued, but some of it was being set on fire routinely. So this is a great thing that you've got here. But what this gentleman has in question is a two-family building that he bought unknowingly after there was a decision against him last year or earlier this year, and it's basically unusable unless you help him out. So if he's willing to comply with B, all of the provisions, including those from A that spill over, it seems like an opportunity for a win-win.
Okay. Thank you, sir. And I just want to, I acknowledge that our abandoned structure revival statute is a unicorn. It is a unique feature of the Fitchburg zoning ordinance. And I agree it's been helpful in resuming the use and the rehabilitation of many abandoned properties. So, any board member discussion on this before we go ahead, Mr. McLaughlin?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I appreciate Mr. Bobrowski's comments with regards to Section B, but, you know, it kind of relates to the structure. You know, number 3 really speaks to the number of off-street parking spaces. We've heard this case 3 times, and we've been presented with 3 different parking plans, several of them which are registered, and it would be pretty safe to say, and we got confirmation from the last applicant, that the surveyors are not actually even visiting the property. I'll call these armchair parking plans. And the board has been, even just for clarification, I brought different tape measures to make sure that I don't have one that was stretched out or shrunk. But the parking plans that are being submitted to us are not real. They're not real. Because we've gone to the site, we've walked to the site. From a topography standpoint, they're not real. And from a measurement standpoint, they're not accurate. So how many times are we going to hear the case? You know, I also want to say that the burden isn't on the board for realtors, attorneys, and buyers that don't do their due diligence or provide full disclosure for these properties when they're being bought and or sold. Because as we have found out that previous applicants have not done the due diligence, they haven't used an attorney, and you know, if we just denied this a year or so ago, year and a half or so ago, where's the disclosure in the sale? You know, I'm not an attorney, so I can't answer anything, but it's just, you know,
Mike,
we've reviewed this over and over again.
In the packet, it says that the buyer was notified that it had been turned down by this board.
Okay.
So he bought it knowing that it was already turned down.
So anyway, you know, speaking purely back to, you know, 3362B, I don't see how this, you know,
No way.
works and even fits the requirement for the parking.
Mr. Gallagher, any comment?
You know, the question remains with the telephone pole that blocks the access to the driveway on the left side. You know, is there a plan to move that pole? I know that there was talk about it in the past, and where would it be moved to without concerning the abutter parking as well?
I'm gonna say no because we've moved beyond that point, but thank you.
But even if the pole is moved, right, which we know it would have to, there's still, there isn't width for parking.
I don't think there is width for parking plus a 3-foot setback, and I don't see that it's displayed on this plan as a 3-foot setback.
I would agree with that. And in terms of filling that lot to make that tandem parking for the first car to go in, with snow removal and a plow, how can a plow get through there without hitting the building? Slipping? I plow. I know that there's ice under snow. I can't imagine plowing that.
And that's only on that side of the building. If you move on the other side of the building, you have all those gas meters that are there. If a truck slides a little bit there, it's going to take out all those meters.
Which doesn't allow for the 9 feet with the barriers.
There's just no room for parking there.
That's right.
And Michael is 100% correct when he says that we're getting parking plans in here that are not correct.
Right.
I mean, we know. I mean, we've walked it. We've stood at the bottom and looked up to see that it's 8 feet tall.
Many times, yep.
Yeah, but I think that issue where there isn't a setback would either create a new nonconformity dimensionally, or especially with the addition of the new parking space, or at the very least increase in existing nonconformity. And that variance really depends on where the existing asphalt ends and the boundary line lies. So that's my point of view on that. Unless there are other comments, I would ask that we have a motion for a finding in the affirmative that the building commissioner's determination that the property is not eligible as an exempt structure under Section 181.3362, Section B.
I'll make a motion with that finding.
Second.
All those in favor of that finding? All those opposed?
Aye.
Nay?
Aye.
Okay, so we have a finding that the building commissioner's decision should not be reversed. Given those two findings, I'm going to ask for a going to close the public hearing as to the appeal without objection. And I'm going to ask for a motion in the affirmative to approve the appeal of the building commissioner's determination as a vote, as opposed to a finding.
So moved.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
On that motion in the affirmative, all those in favor? All those opposed? Aye.
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 So the appeal is denied, and we need to move on to the issue of a repetitive application. So with a repetitive application, under MGL Chapter 40A, Section 16, the zoning board, I'm going to look for my language here. The planning board must give its consent, but where we are also the special permit granting authority here for a request for a special permit to revive the abandoned structure under 181.3366, which was denied less than 2 years ago. We must also find by a vote of 4 members of a board of 5 members that specific and material changes in the conditions upon which the previous unfavorable action was based, and then describe the changes in the records of our proceeding. We would undertake this I'm just getting reminded that the request is for a special permit under 336 and 3322. So again, both the ZBA would have to find that there are specific and material changes in the conditions upon which the previous unfavorable action was based. And should that happen, the planning board, by vote of all of one of its members, must give its consent to the rehearing, and then a substantive rehearing could take place. So I am going to open the public hearing on the reapplication within 2 years, and I'd ask that the applicant describe the specific and material changes in the conditions upon which the previous unfavorable action was based.
Thank you, Madam Chair. In the alternative, what I'd like to do, knowing that this is my last chance at the prize, is use the special permit application to more succinctly identify the provisions that are set forth in Section 16 of the statute. So if we have to give you a plan that has a believability to it, and you don't think that the plan that we have tonight is believable, then I'd like a continuance to come back with a gold-plated plan that will show you under 3366 that there's adequate parking to serve the structure in conformity with the provisions for parking. And it may be that you end up disagreeing with the applicant, but at least they'll put their best shot forward.
So we need to address, before we can address the substantive criteria of that section of the ordinance, the issue of whether there have been specific and material changes in the conditions. Can you tell me how such a plan would be a specific and material change?
I'm not an engineer, and I didn't draw the plan that you're looking at this evening, and I'm not familiar necessarily with what they saw back in 2022, but I can assure you that we will find an engineer that will not only give you a better plan, but will also be able to identify the specific and material changes.
Okay.
Otherwise, we've got a dead building on our hands.
So I'm just going to note that when this application was submitted, and I went back and looked at this to be certain, because I am a...
You don't have to go that far.
This is 2023 plan.
We're looking to see if this is substantially different than the other plan. That's all we have to look at. Is this substantially different than the other plan? Not bringing in anything new, not bringing in anything old. Is this plan that was put before us substantially different than what we denied before? And as far as I can see, this is the exact same plan. There's nothing changed whatsoever.
So what I was going to say is that I went back in my materials from 2022, and the architectural design is the same plan that was submitted. That's...
Ta-da.
Yeah. It's not... It's not by a different design firm. It's not updated. It is in fact the same plan with the same date.
I think you're a wonderful chairperson, but didn't I just say that?
Thank you, sir. Not sure Attorney Bobrowski would agree with you today. That is fine. We all must represent our clients. I'm not inclined to allow the extension. I very much appreciate the offer from counsel, as I do in whole the very professional presentation that he has made to the board tonight. Attorney Flick before you did an excellent job, and I also want to say that I think you did an excellent job in the presentation. I think it's the property that stymies the application. So I would allow a vote on whether any board members are inclined to allow a continuance for submission of a different plan. So if any board member would be so inclined. I see none. Okay.
For the record, no.
For the record, no.
You know, we've been on this for so long, for
I know.
so many years.
No.
There's no reason to do it. We all have been to the property, through it, around it, up and down it. It's over, it's finished.
Okay. Until one more year, at which point in time the 2-year bar will be done. So, without objection, I'm going to close the public hearing on the 2-year rehearing. I'm going to ask for a motion in the affirmative to find that there's been a specific and material change in the conditions upon which the previous unfavorable action was based.
I'll make that motion.
Do we have a second? All those in favor? All those opposed? Aye.
Aye.
Okay. So the finding fails. Attorney Bobrowski, I would just like to say I am sure this is not the last time this property will be before us. I want to thank you for the time and effort you put into the presentation and the argument on the issues. And I wish the petitioner good luck with this property. And
Thank you.
yourself
Thank
a
you,
good
Madam.
night.
Thank you, Madam Chair, for your courtesy. Thank you, board members, as well. Everybody enjoy the holidays, and we'll rethink this. We've got some time.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Counselor.
Thank you.
You bet.
Hey,
Yes.
maybe you can get him to sign the book.
Attorney Bobrowski, Mr. Burns thinks I should have you autograph my Bobrowski book that I carry with me. Don't know if you're still there,
No, he's
but
gonna-
clearly it's not going to happen over
A denial?
over the holidays, pending a denial and virtually. But Mr. Byrne is the optimist here.
An autographed edition.
Okay, we're going to move to the next item on the agenda.
Have this. So like now, to do anything, we won't hear this. They won't hear it, yeah, for another year.
Moving around.
There is my agenda. Okay. Next item on the agenda is ZBA 23-3421 Market Street, Luis Hernandez. This is a special permit under Section 181.333 and 181.336 of the zoning ordinance to reinstate a vacant or abandoned non-conforming mixed-use building, changing the use Permitting less detrimental use is a two-family dwelling pursuant to Section 181.94 located in the residential C district. Mr. Hernandez, are you present? Okay. Please come up to the table. If you can both come up, that would be appreciated. And if you have somebody speaking for you, that's fine, but come up. Thank you. So if each of you can state your name and the city in which you reside.
How you doing? My name is Anthony Hernandez. I am from Allentown, Pennsylvania.
Thank you. Sir?
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Luis Hernandez. I'm from New York, 311 Ames Street.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Welcome.
I am John. I'm from Worcester, Mass. And I'm with Mina Design Architects. I'm representing Mr. Luis Hernandez tonight to present the project.
Okay. Thank you, sir. We are always welcoming when a professional appears before us, and we appreciate your time here. Before we start on this request for a special permit, this is a property that was bought from somebody who bought it from the city after they foreclosed on tax title. So the prior owner owned it pursuant to tax title. And they had bought it by a deed issued by the city on December 2nd, 2020. Within that deed, there is a deed restriction. And the deed restriction says that the owner has to pull a building permit within 9 months and complete reconstruction within 18 months, or the owner has to convey it back to the city for nominal consideration. And neither of those things happened within the time frame, and then the prior owner sold it to you guys in 2022 on April 28th. Now, I did an initial check with our Planning Community Development Department. They indicated that, at least from their perspective, there's a willingness to discuss modifying that provision. But that is because it's an interest in real estate, it has to be approved by the city council. So I just want you to know, because I know people buy properties. I see that there wasn't a mortgage, so there probably wasn't a title company looking at this. That is something that you need to get resolved. My initial inquiry says the city's willing to resolve it, but we don't have any control over city council, and city council has to approve that. My thought is that we hear your presentation tonight. I'm fine doing that, but we're going to need to continue before any decision is made for this issue to at least get initially resolved. Because we need to have all of the owners of the property consenting to the special permit, and it seems like the city has an ownership interest. It is 9/21. You are also welcome to continue this a couple months and have the hearing then. So let me know what you'd like to do, but we're perfectly willing to hear you tonight. I just don't think we can proceed to a vote until this is resolved. Okay?
Wait then, or you want to? So if we're presented tonight.
We're here now, yeah. We can talk our way.
And there's also only 4 out of 5 of us, so you would need to get unanimous consent. That's another reason sometimes people want to wait until there's 5 of us. So.
Well, I wasn't aware of all the items that were mentioned. My goal was to help with the Lewis to revitalize the building within existing footprints, keeping the structure the exact same, just that bring the building up to codes. And as of right now, the building, if you look at the front, the stone veneer is slowly peeled off the facade. And I thought if we get approved tonight so we can get going and try to.
So I think you want to make your presentation tonight because of course, the owners have hired you to be here, and you're here.
Well, our goal is it's very simple. It was a resident. It's a mixed use, a residential upstairs and commercial downstairs. You all know. We intended to do a total rehab and change and request the change of use on the first floor. And then it becomes a residential, which I think is favorable to the neighbor than residential commercial mix.
So will there be a total of 2
units?
2 units total, not 3 units total?
No, 2 units.
Okay.
Upstairs.
Thank you.
It's still a residential, and downstairs we're going to convert into residential. So 1 and 2, that's it.
Okay.
Madam Chair?
Yes,
Just very brief.
Mr. McLaughlin, yes?
If this is a change in use, and I'm learning this from the commissioner, if this one's, we're looking at a change in use, is this going to require all those new codes to be met?
Yes.
So I want us to convey that to them, because if they're just flippers, they may not realize the magnitude of what's required to renovate this and the hurdles that they've got before we can even move ahead. I think that they have some substantial information I want them to be aware of.
Correct. And what the member is talking about is there were significant changes, as you probably heard earlier tonight, as of January 1st of this past year for the stretch code. So you're going to have to make this comply with the code for new construction, which is stretch code, so it's going to all have to be HERS rated.
I'm aware of that. I knew that already.
It's all going to have
The HERS rating, insulation, new window, UL,
everything. So I looked at the plans that you have, and I'm assuming those are just preliminary plans just for zoning, because those are not permit plans.
Oh, no. This is more like for
concept plans.
But then eventually you're going to see the structurally framing, insulation, fire rating. Everything has to be right. If I'm not misunderstanding, they need to be 0.52 now, which is even cost more money for the.
Yeah, it's going to be.
And I wear all of that. Yes. This is not for a permit now. It's more like for.
And I maybe I missed it. I'm just seeing this lot, this site plan. And I'm trying to figure out, because you're changing the nature of this, you want to have 2 parking spots when 4 are required. You're asking for relief.
Yes.
From 2 of those. So, and it's a 4,000 square foot lot. So it's quite a tight lot with, 45 feet of frontage on the lot. It's going to be very, very, very tight for designing the parking, especially where the parking is behind the building. So I'm assuming you're going to do a driveway, which isn't shown on these plans. I'm assuming you're going to do a driveway. And based on the drawings that you guys submitted with the form of intent, plans that you guys submitted with the form of intent doesn't really match up with this site plan that you submitted with the ZBA application.
The site plans, a certified one is approved, is shown that we have two.
Yep.
I took out the stair and bring the stair inside so that the driveway is wide enough, which is 9'6", for the car to go to the back, park in the rear.
So it's 9'6" from the property line, 9'6" wide going from the property line. So there's no setback from the driveway to the property line.
Right.
On this. So there's quite a bit. Is that an existing driveway or is that?
That is an existing, well, it's if you look at the photos, it's there, right there, so, but the neighbor to the right also has a park in the back. They do have a driveway, though. But here, if I remove the stair and the bump out there, then I do have more than
I'm
big
not
enough.
sure with that 9'6" and kind of how you have it laid out, that you can make the turn well enough to get to that second parking spot. That would, I think, if this does go forward, we'd need civil plans to show that a car can actually make that turn, because that's kind of a tight turn for that. And you know there's also going to be requirements from the engineering department for for water service and sewer service potentially, changing those out possibly, because you're converting from a commercial use to two residential uses, so you may end up needing to change your sewer service, and that's going to have to be scoped by the engineering department. So there's a lot of kind of steps that you would have to do even beyond this. And that's even assuming the city council, as the chair said, doesn't decide to exercise its rights. So I'm just pointing out that, as Mr. McLaughlin pointed out, you're going to have a lot of hurdles to jump through even beyond this for this site. There's a lot of considerations.
Okay. So if you remove the exterior stairway on the left-hand side, where is the second means of egress, the two means of egress?
If you look at the drawing there, I have two egress for upstairs.
Mm-hmm.
You're coming in from the sides of the building, and then you go up, and then there's another set of stairs that are coming down from the rear.
Mm-hmm.
And on the ground floor, I already have the door, the common door that comes in, and then I also have the landing in the back for this. So they both have two means of egress.
Okay.
On the elevation shown, if you look at the elevation on the drawing, it shows dash stair from the inside or going down from second floor and up. Those are the egress.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Will there be any modifications to the unit on the second story other than the exterior stairs we just talked about?
I'm sorry?
Are there going to be any changes on the second floor other than the stairs that we just talked
No,
about?
the second floor, the building stay the same. It's just that it's going to be new siding. I got it the inside, so new. The footprint's the same, the structure height's the same. If anything, we'll just make the parapet nicer, and that's it.
Okay.
And as you can see in the drawing, we kind of propose, well, it's not a detailed drawing, we try to make the more, like give it a more curve appeal to the buildings.
What was the commercial use on the first floor?
It looks like a bar to me. It's dark, small windows, but the inside is ruined.
Okay. Inside, it's all ruined, yeah.
This inside is bad, so we have to actually get an engineer to go in to make sure it's structurally sound before it can be occupied.
Okay.
I'm confused. What are these pictures for?
Oh, those are existing. I thought if you don't have, I just want to show it to you. That's what it is right now.
This is what?
Current
That's the one,
conditions,
yeah.
Existing conditions.
That is existing photo, yeah.
Existing conditions.
I just want to show the front and the back to give you an idea what it looks like. I'm pretty sure nowadays you can see it, but might as well have it here.
All right. We're talking about 21 Market Street.
Yes,
This isn't 21 Market Street.
that is 21 Market Street.
Yeah, it is. 25 is right next door. It's in the last picture. You can see 25.
All right.
Market Street, and is that to burn down?
No, that's Integral.
No, we went down, you took pictures of it.
Yeah, that was Integral.
One question I have also, since we're waiting.
Yes.
Your plans show that there's a sprinkler room there right now.
Sprinkler?
Yeah, you're showing there's a sprinkler room in the basement currently. So there's sprinklers in the building.
If you recall, I think I spoke, I think originally we proposed 4 units. I'm preparing a sprinkler room.
No, I'm looking at the plan for 2 units.
There should not be a sprinkler room, it should be a mechanical. And if that is the case, this should be my mistake. It should not be a sprinkler, it's only 2 units.
Yeah, I'm looking at 3 units according to the plans that were submitted.
No,
Oh, no. That's a different one.
I submitted 2 units, not 3.
Okay, let me see.
Oh. Do you know how long ago? A long time ago? Yeah.
How you doing tonight?
Okay.
No, I don't.
Yeah, I don't.
Good. Saw you sitting there quietly. I thought we'd just say hello.
My basement is not showing.
No, but what was submitted with the form of intent,
It's only 2.
there was 3. I'm looking at the digital copy.
This is the one that
Don't let them out until they
So here is the plan that was submitted with the form of intent that shows a sprinkler room in the basement.
That's the previous, that was, that's not
But that's the form of intent that was filed in March.
No, it's only 2 units. First floor, this is
It has that stipulation that whoever's part of
So did they record that in the deed? So they bought it without doing it.
we spoke,
Yeah. And that's what I thought was Market Street, so I'm looking at this up here.
Appreciate your patience.
I know.
While we figure a couple things
That
out.
was last month.
I remember we spoke, we got into 3 units and we worried about parking spaces. And
When was
went-
this?
Obviously, you're not going to remember because the thousands we were calling you, but I did.
It
I
may
did
not
speak
have been
to-
me, it may have been my predecessor.
No, Commissioner, yeah, I spoke with Commissioner, that's you.
Yes, but I've only been the acting commissioner for a few weeks. So
Oh.
it may have been my predecessor.
What's his name? Mark?
Yes, that's my predecessor.
Oh, I'm sorry. So basically, we started out with 4 units, and then slowly, because of the parking restriction, I realized that, and eventually we came down to 2 units. And it's only fair for us to do 2 family, because it's might kind of big to do with 1 family, so that's why we're here and requesting.
So the building commissioner's letter determined that there had been 2 dwelling units.
2 units, and which I,
Were they both on the second floor?
No, unit one,
The
smaller
first
unit
floor?
upstairs and then larger unit downstairs.
But at some point, it had gotten converted into a bar?
I'm sorry?
At some point, it got converted into a bar on the first floor?
No, it's right now.
Okay.
It is a single family upstairs, and then commercial downstairs. But I thought it's a bar, but I don't know what it looks like. It's a bar, and then we requesting.
Pretty sure it was. I'm pretty sure that was the old South Fitchburg Social Club, where they moved it up to Fusco's old place.
But proposing to convert it back to residential, and I thought it works better.
So, go ahead, sir, you're welcome to speak.
Thank you. Dile a ellos que nosotros en vez de bar comercial lo queremos de familia y no veo cuál es el problema que uno quiera poner familia en vez de bar. Siempre ha habido bar por muchísimos años. Sin embargo, nosotros lo que queremos poner es familia, que es mucho mejor que traer un bar a la comunidad.
He was saying basically that, we're really trying to convert this space into a family-oriented, two-family building. When we want to take away the bar that was there before and convert it into something more friendly to the environment and to the community.
Okay.
Dile que tuvo muchos años, parece ahí.
Yeah, the bar was there for a couple of years, maybe much longer, for a couple of decades maybe. So he wants to make sure that, he wants to put a family housing instead of a bar.
Question for the applicant?
Go ahead, sir.
Did you, when the property was purchased, did you use an attorney and do a deed search? Title search and all that?
Dile, si usé un abogado para comprar, claro, sí.
Yes, he did.
Oh, and so they didn't find...
No encontró nada?
No había nada.
No.
Me dijo no había violación ni nada.
He said there was no violation or any deeds or, right?
No deuda.
No, nothing.
Use of... okay. Thank you.
And you're welcome.
Madam Chair, may I ask?
Go ahead, Mr. Gallagher.
Were you able to purchase title insurance on it?
Title insurance?
Yo sí.
Yes.
You have insurance?
Sí.
Yes.
Okay. That should be helpful to you in resolving the issue with the city. Because if you were, I shouldn't be giving you legal advice in a meeting, but generally, if you bought a property and it was supposed to have clear title and it doesn't, the title insurance is supposed to help you fix that. So I think you need to go back to the attorney that you used for the purchase and talk to them about this issue, because it should have been resolved at that point in time. So, just as a way to help.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Pero porque ellos deudan el beneficio.
No. You have issues with the title.
No, está limpio y todo, ya lo tiene.
You need to talk to them again. Tengo que hablar con ellos.
Yeah, so I hope that they can be resolved. And like I said, I made an initial inquiry to our planning department, and they thought that the city might be amenable to helping out. So, but it's up to the city council, not me or the planning department.
I have a clean title home.
So, it's always possible that there is something that I did not see at the Registry of Deeds, but I did not see anything clearing the city's claim on the property. So that's what you have to clear up.
Okay.
Okay.
Madam, if I have another question. Do we have an idea when the next city planning is happening?
The city council meeting or another meeting of this
City
board?
council, yeah.
They are every other Tuesday.
To check with the city clerks.
Yeah, because the schedule changes a little bit around Christmas.
Okay.
But I would normally, so the first thing that I would really do is talk to the building department, but also you have a ward counselor for your ward of the city, and go to your own city councilor and ask for their assistance in helping to resolve this. Because they, one of their jobs is to be your advocate, so your voice at the city council. I am trying to tell you when the meeting is by clicking on things while we're talking. And the next meeting is on Tuesday, the 19th of December. But I would go talk to your city councilor about how to resolve this issue with the city council. So the building commissioner made a determination that there are 2 pre-existing abandoned dwelling units, and that those are pre-existing dwelling units. And where the use on the first floor was as a bar the last time, that you need a special permit to convert the first floor into a dwelling unit instead of a bar.
Correct.
Okay. So in other words, he's saying that at one time there were 2 dwelling units there. It was a 2-family, which is good because we can't revive something that didn't exist in the first place.
Right. Madam Chair?
Yes.
In light of the time tonight and the fact that there seems to be clearly some issues that need resolution, I would like to respectfully ask that maybe we continue this.
Okay. I think that's a good suggestion because of the issues that we talked about. So I'm going to just make sure if somebody's here for public comment that we take it. As I understand it, this is for a 2-family use, that there are certainly existing nonconformities to the building, but you're not going to change the footprint or make any of them worse. That you have 2 parking spaces that you're proposing, which is, 2 less than required, but depending on which section of the zoning ordinance we're looking at, may be permitted. Okay. Is there anything else that you want to add about the project right now?
No, I mean, we're pretty satisfied with our design. We're coming here, we're aware that we lack of 2 parking spaces. And we're very careful by not doing anything that's detrimental to the neighbor, which I don't think we did, other than try to make the building area better. This now is all on the board to decide, help us out, grant us 2 spaces.
How many bedrooms per unit?
3 bedroom per unit, yes.
How many bathrooms per unit?
2.
Okay, thank you. I'm just going to see if anybody's here for public comment. Does anybody here wish to speak on this matter? Sir, you're welcome to come up and speak briefly. Remembering, I think we're probably going to end the meeting without a vote.
Absolutely. So thank you for having me. Thank you for having this meeting. My name's Chris Amenta. I own 19 Market Street to the side of this property. The property I have, I'm a local resident. I serve my country, and I've owned this property, I want to say, about 15 years. I'm very involved with my properties around the area and within Central Mass. The gentleman that's sitting here, as the madam has stated, the original owner did not meet the conditions that the town set forth when this was sold at auction. I was at that auction. Obviously protecting the interests of my property and the tenants that I have there. Some of the tenants I've had there, they've been there since before I purchased the property. So I'm solidified in the community. I live in the area, and I continue to do business in the area. I'm a licensed general contractor, build, sell, flip. But I do my due diligence when I buy properties. Not doing that is not an excuse. It's not the residents' responsibility to have to bear that responsibility because certain things weren't done, if that makes sense. Doing as the board has stated earlier, These are things that need to get done. This is why we have title insurance. This is why we use attorneys. Just bear with me 1 second, please. I'm just trying to take a bunch of notes. The gentleman said, this is something that would be favorable to the neighborhood. I don't know how that's going to work when they're from New York. That doesn't really work for me. Some of the issues are going to be the parking issues, setback issues. As the board has mentioned earlier with the past properties, there's going to be snow removal issues, snow storage issues, making the turn on this property, the driveways tight. I know the architect has said that they're going to be moving, and I haven't seen the proposed plans or any renderings, but these egress for the second floor, I know they're proposing about moving that to the back. That's fine. I haven't seen anything on that. These are just things that I want to bring to the attention to the board in general. It's a small area to be converted to a 3-bedroom, 2-bath per unit property, if that makes sense. I have snow issues with the property, with my property. I'm sorry, I thought you were raising your hand. I have, and that's with what I have. That street, as with any other street in Fitchburg, is extremely tight with parking, extremely tight. I personally plow the street myself to help the other tenants who have single-family homes there, just to help them out, because a lot of times they get crushed with the snow plows pushing all the snow in their driveway, so I get it. I used to be one of those guys who I had a shovel, and I watched the trucks go by. Be like this. So I try to help the people in the community of the neighborhoods. Hey, they know when I'm coming. Hey, I give them a text. Hey, I'm here. Can you move your car? I'll help you out. This is only going to add to the burden of that street, if that makes sense. That's all I have to say, and it's nothing that you guys don't already know or haven't already seen with that property. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much for your comment and for participating, sir. Is there anybody else who would like to make a public comment who is present? And then I'm going to check virtually. We have nobody there virtually. Sir, again, we're going to continue this, but would you like to make a brief response?
Okay. Dile que yo tengo 2 familias y yo creo que la de son más familias y yo tengo el mismo espacio que tienen atrás. ¿Cuál es la diferencia? ¿Y por qué tiene que mencionar que yo vengo de Nueva York? Es que no quieren que no de aquí. Si yo tengo casa en Worcester también y tengo tiempo viniendo aquí, ¿por qué tiene que mencionar que vengo de Nueva York?
His response was basically his property we're trying to convert the property into 2-family. His property is into 3 families. We have about the same footprint. And, he's trying to help the community in a sense to make it better for that area. The other thing he said was that, the reason there shouldn't be any mention of us living from New York. We have business in Worcester and Central Mass for a very long time, for the past 10 years, right? 15 years. We know the community. We understand what the people needs. So he just felt that there was no reasoning for us just because we were from New Yorkers or outsiders, that shouldn't be a cause or reasoning for us not to proceed with this project.
Is your intention to sell the property after you're finished, or to hold the property and rent it?
Hold the property.
Hold the property and rent it. Okay.
O quizás quería comprarle, no la compró. Díselo. I told him maybe because maybe he wanted to buy the property, he don't bought it. Maybe that's why he became mad.
I don't know, sir. The only thing, that really concerns me is that people who own properties maintain them and take care of them.
Of course.
But I think that's the concern of every city, to make sure that happens. So.
That's why we're here today, to make sure that we are compliant to that,
And that's why tiene un arquitecto para hacer todo por los códigos.
Yeah, if we have also hired an architect to help us, the step-by-steps, and making sure code by code we are compliant.
I appreciate
Y por
you
último,
bringing that.
antes había más gente y entraba y salía, ahora hay menos y ya.
So at this time, we're going to, I'd like to hear a motion on the continuance of this hearing. And how many are we at for January? How many are we at for February?
review and the new application that came today, so.
Okay. If you come in January, the meeting is January 9th. I don't think that's enough time for you to resolve the issue, and it would be, you would be the last item on the agenda as you are today. I'm going to offer February 13th, which is the next meeting, if that's all right. Okay.
Okay.
So if you could approach and...
I'm sorry, Madam Chairman, I don't believe our architect is available at that time.
I happen to be out of the country. What is it?
The next meeting
In
after-
February.
I won't. I'm not available.
So the next meeting is, after that is March 12th. You are also welcome to appear remotely if you would like to do that.
I'm not too far from here, so I don't mind driving up here.
Okay, so March then?
March
Okay.
12th?
Madam
March
Chair,
12th.
takeaway for the applicant?
Go
Just
ahead.
want them to, I don't want to keep having continuances. The footprint of the building is what, about 30 by 30?
31 by 52.
Okay. Just want to give some feedback and thought about reduction in number of bedrooms due to the size of the property. It helps with the impact on the parking as well, right? There's no land, everything's small, right? So maybe think about, does it work with a reduced
The bedrooms?
impact on the neighborhood, on the city? Just a takeaway for you.
Okay.
Okay?
We'll look at
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
All right,
I'm sorry, did you say March 12th or 10?
March 12th.
12th.
It would be a Tuesday because we are always here on a Tuesday. So this extension is for 35 days after March 12th. So the meeting is scheduled for March 12th. All of the deadlines are extended for at least 35 days after that to allow time to write any decision that is reached. So, sir, if you could approach and sign the agreement. And it would be right there. Yep, under. Thank you. Okay. Can I hear a motion on a continuance, please?
I'll make that motion.
To March 12th, 2024?
March 12th, 2024.
And do we have, all those in favor? Aye. All right, we will see you in March. Good luck with everything and with resolving the issue with the city.
Thank you for your time, everyone.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Happy holiday.
Happy holidays.
Happy holidays.
Same to you.
Thank you for your time, gentlemen. Sorry for the wait.
Thank you, sir.
So, board members, I had asked that the modifications to the rules be printed, but I don't know if that happened.
Did I skip one?
That's okay.
We can do it
Okay.
next month.
All right, board members, the modifications to the rules will be circulated and available to read, and then up for discussion and hopefully passage at the next meeting. I am going to, therefore, at this point in time, ask if there is a motion to adjourn.
I will make that motion.
Okay?
Madam Chair, just as a point of order, if we're going to do the discussion about modification of the rules at next meeting, it should be added to the agenda for that meeting.
It should be added to the agenda at the end and not just rely on our miscellaneous.
Correct.
I agree. Okay. So, I think we have
Thank you, Commissioner, for
unanimous.
attending.
It's my pleasure.
Greatly appreciated.
Like to wish on behalf of the board, happy holidays to the public and a happy new year.
Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas and happy.